Round 3 of Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe is in the Netherlands, back at Zandvoort, the circuit built into the dunes, just back in from the North Sea at this holiday resort. Last time out, the racing was Misano. Very, very hot, very tight circuit and plenty of fantastic racing. The run down to the first corner, the teams, all of them were nervous, but drivers behaved very well indeed. With a win in the bag in the first race, the FFF Racing Lamborghini of Pirelli and Mapelli was super cautious through the first few corners, but for those behind, things got very tight indeed, including often at this infield hairpin. Racing for the first time in red, hoping to change its luck, the 88 Mercedes of Vincent Abril and Raffaele Marcello was right at the sharp end of the field. The Tempo Racing's Audi was pushing its way, trying to work its way forward, but every single passing manoeuvre was a piece of work. It often came through a course of several corners, as you can see, super close racing. But what bucking bronco, as drivers went out over the edge of the circuit for the car that was making its way forward, was the number 2 Audi, hoping to take a first win for the season. The pit stops were very tidy indeed, and again, just reiterate, it was super hot for everybody involved. The Lamborghini still going very well indeed. The Santalot Racing Audis right at the sharp end. Black Falcon Mercedes in the mix too. But at the end, it was the number 2 Audi starting to pull clear. Problem for the Acura ASP Mercedes there. After a win in the first race, the FFF Racing Team Lamborghini picked its way through into second place, gave chase, but it was going to be victory for Dries van Toren for the first time, for the youngest Blancpain winner ever, Charles Weerts, and no wonder his father in the pits was so delighted. Dries van Toren leaping into the picture, joy all around, and that continued up onto the podium. Time to spray the champagne on what had been an incredibly hot weekend of action. For 2019, the Blancpain GT World Challenge is held in the Americas, in Europe and in Asia, with both Ferrari and Mercedes nominating 4 drivers in each of those series to pick up points. And the star in the American scene is Tony Villander, the Finn, already 3 wins in the bag for SRO Motorsport. In Europe, David Pirelli and Rinat Alikov have been shining in the Pro-Am class. And in Asia, Yuya Sakamoto super consistent for Hub Auto Corsa. There are the 12 drivers nominated to score points for Ferrari. Good luck to them this weekend. And the 3-pointed star, Mercedes. George Kurtz has been going really well indeed in the United States. Not yet victorious, but we will see. In Europe, though, it's Lucas Stoltz who leads the championship with 3 podiums in 4 starts for the Black Falcon team. And in Asia, Roelof Bruins is having the season of his life with 2 wins already in the bag. So let's take a look at the 12 drivers for Mercedes going for gold this weekend at Zandvoort. And how about a look at the points tally at the moment? It's Mercedes in front on 7,633 points. Coming to Zandvoort, a driver riding very high indeed is Charles Weerts, the youngest ever winner in Blancpain history, 18 years old, racing for Team WRT, and he's a real new star for Audi. Look out for Charles, he's on a charge.
Yeah, of course, the weekend in Misano was great. Obviously the car was quick, my teammate was quick, and I think my pace was pretty okay. Zandvoort is quite an old school track. No room for mistakes, so it should be interesting.
It's incredibly difficult to be at the sharp end in the Blancpain GT World Challenge, and one driver who's doing it race in, race out is Maro Engel. 4 races, a first, a second, a third and a fourth. Absolutely charging this year for the Black Falcon Mercedes team. Will there be a further win here in Holland?
Yeah, it's always fantastic to be here in Zandvoort. It's such a great track. It's a bit of a mini Nordschleife, Nürburgring Nordschleife with up and down, fast sweeping corners, natural track. Certainly no discussions about track limits, which is great, and we're looking forward to the weekend. Misano, I think, was still a good weekend for us, a 3rd and a 4th. It was definitely a strong weekend, even though we would have loved to finish a little bit better. I think it was important to take the points. Certainly not our best weekend in terms of pace. We hope that this weekend will be a lot better for us, and obviously we'd love to end the weekend on top 7.
Aurélien Panis, a driver with a famous father. Olivier, of course, a star in Formula 1, but now Aurélien is the driver really finding his form. Racing in touring cars a lot, but now he's joined GT4 this year and stepped up with the Podium Barthez team to race the Lexus, and really enjoying his first taste of GT3 power.
We are here to learn, because it's the first season also for the team. So we are here to learn. Me, I have to learn the car, and we have a really nice teammate with Jack Lisro who know really good the car. So we are here to take experience, and we will do our best to be on a good position, but we will see.
For Stein Schotthorst, he is desperate to score a first win of the 2019 campaign for the Attento Audi team, but where better to try it than here on his home circuit at Zandvoort.
I do know the track very well. I've started racing here actually in this place when I was 15 years old, so that's 9 years ago now. And since then I've obviously done a lot of laps, but funnily enough, never in a GT3 car. So this is my first time here in the GT3, but I can't complain about knowing the track, that's true. It will be close racing here, but not a lot of overtakes, which makes the pit stop even more crucial really, because if there's anywhere you can really do the overtake, it's there. So it's going to be important to practice it a lot this weekend, and the guys have already done it a bit, and they'll do it even more tonight, and hopefully we can keep our position or even gain something in the pit stops.
The SRO Motorsport Aston Martin team really keen to make a splash, and Ricky Collard is going better and better with every round. I'm really looking forward to see if he can improve on his best results so far, one short of the podium, picking up the 4th place last time out in Italy.
Yeah, so it's my first ever time here in Holland. I'm really excited. Hopefully the weather can improve, because I've never driven a GT car in the wet ever. So I've got like the craziest track that we go to on the calendar, which I've never ever been to as well, just to add. And we've got some wet showers. But you know, we're there or thereabouts, so it shows what a great car this is, and you know how much of a team sport motorsport is, because the guys have done a great job.
The ACA ASP Mercedes team started the season with victory at Brands Hatch thanks to Nico Bastien and his young French teammate Thomas Neubauer. They're leading the silver standings and looking to see if they can continue to stretch that advantage around the dips and turns of the Zandvoort circuit. So let's see if they can strike gold in Zandvoort.
Our focus is on the Silver Cup Championship, especially with Thomas Neubauer, who is new in the racing series. It's the target from the first race on to win the Silver Cup Championship at the end of this year. Yeah, this we also won't change. But for sure, as we are 3rd in the championship overall as well, everything what we can achieve there is a nice benefit.
The FFF racing team is making a real splash in 2019 and enjoying great success in the Pro-Am class is Hiroshi Hamaguchi, sharing with Phil Keane.
All the tracks I do this season is new to me, and it's very difficult that way, but you know, racing in Europe is something different. I mean, you know, to get to the track, in the track, everything, the atmosphere, the view, everything is beautiful. I love it.
Great to hear from all those drivers, their thoughts ahead of this, the first of the 2 races. Round 3 of the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe Series. Of course, there's the Blancpain GT World Challenge America and Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia Series, and we will combine all those at the end of the season and see who comes out on top. But right now, here's the scene. I'm Bruce Jones, joined by John Watson in the commentary box. We're looking down over the start-finish straight. It's a blustery, not particularly warm day here. As you see, not even 20 degrees air temperature at Zandvoort, but it looks like we're all set for great racing because the track conditions seem perfect. Riding down from the front of the grid, let's go through the 14 rows of cars. Vincent Abril, a well-earned pole position right at the end of the first session. Mirko Bortolotti alongside, so ACA ASP plays the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. Mercedes against Lamborghini, it's the same mix on the second row, with Andrea Caldarelli on the left, 3rd fastest for the FFF Racing Team. Really well placed in both championships here. Luca Stoltz in the Black Falcon Mercedes sharing with Mauro Engel. They've had a 2nd, a 1st, a 3rd and a 4th. That is consistent excellence. And Ricky Collard not far off a podium position so far this year. His best is a 4th place in the SRO Motorsport Aston Martin. Stein Schotthorst waving the flag for the Dutch racers, 6th in the best of the Audis. Then come the Silver Cup runners, the best of those, Felipe Fraga and his ACA ASP teammate Nico Bastien side by side on row number 4. The 2nd of the Aston Martins running in the Silver Cup class, Aero Vainio, and alongside, back from injury, we've got Ezekiel Perez Companc, and he's sharing that number 1 Audi with no less a driver than Dries Van Tor and Stephen Palette and Tom Gamble. Tom Gamble, young British racer, first season in GT racing cars, going very well in the Silver Cup class. Back to row number 7, another Dutch driver hoping to shine at home, Rick Breukers alongside Clement Schmidt, a pair of Audis, and then another Audi and a Lamborghini on the next row. Simon Gachet, Santalot Racing Team. Don't forget, right at the sharp end of Misano, Taylor Proto, young British driver, really starting to make strides this season, racing on this side of the Atlantic after a year in the States. Rolfin Eichen and Charles Beertz. Charles a winner in Misano, different territory for him, different teammate this weekend, back with Christopher Mies, but they had their problems in qualifying. Then Finley Hutchinson, he just jumped out of the GT4 race, ready to do GT3 action alongside Neil Stevenart, who's sharing the Pro-Am Cup car from Santalot Racing with Marcus Winkelhock. Hiroshi Hamaguchi leading the Pro-Am Cup. He's back in 21st alongside Kim Lewis-Schramm. Kim Lewis has a new teammate this weekend, Jean-Carl Verlet. Then Rinat Salikov, Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, Milan Donci, Dutch racer at home, Attempto Racing, down to the last 2 rows on the grids, joining the championship, the sprint championship if you will. Tech 1 Racing with the Lexus, Aurelian Panis debut at this level, alongside the Pro-Am Ferrari from AF Corsa, Louis Machil's the back row, the 1 Am Cup entry. Florian Schultz sharing with Mauro Ricci the back row of the grid. 14 rows, 28 cars, pretty much time to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. So the front row, Vincent Abril, the 88 Mercedes from ASP. On the outside of the front row, Mirko Bortolotti in that 63 Lamborghini. A second Lamborghini, this one from the FFF Racing team on the inside of row 2. That's Andrea Caldarelli and Lucas Stoltz in the black Falcon Mercedes in the blue livery. And then in behind, third row, Ricky Collard and the Aston Martin, number 76, and the best of the Dutch racers so far, Stein Schotthorst in the best of the Audi. Around the Arjen Looijendijk box comes the field. 28 cars in 14 rows, 2 by 2. Once they're all on the straight and narrow, they'll look up the starting grid. Nose in front for Vincent Abril, half a car length advantage. We're green and already got a car peeling into the pit lane. Was that not Caldarelli? No, it's not. Caldarelli's running in third. It's a sister car from the FFF Racing team, but it's all tidy for the first half dozen, the first 10 runners down to Tarzan. Well done, everybody involved. Aurelian Panis gaining a position or 2 at the back of the grid. A little bit of contact, you can see a bit of a blur where bodies have rubbed, and down the middle order, as always, is where the action is. But the first 3 very
across
tidy.
The grass, so the 55 Audi somehow got squeezed on the entry into this whole Hogan-Holtz turn, but Mirko Bortolotti was under threat from Andrea Caldarelli. Managed to consolidate, he's kept his second place, now got a focus, but side by side, up through the sandwich, contact, and is that a car going to go backwards? There it is, into the barriers, got tagged, 2 cars, just the second of the grass are racing. All of a sudden, what happened normally in turn 1 has happened all up in turn 10.
Yeah, they kept it clean, they kept it tidy. There are shards of bodywork on the track, so for Vincent Abril, he did what he needed to do. Mirko Bortolotti was tidy in behind, and they, well, Bortolotti's deciding he's still going to have a look further around the lap, but strike 2 cars on the record already. We saw Stein Schotthorst being shoveled across the grass between Gerlach Bocht and Hugenholzbots, but the front runners have got it under control. Well, let's take a look at the replay at the start. One of the Lamborghinis will peel off with a puncture. That's not relevant at the front end of the field. That was down towards the front. The first 3 runners very tidy indeed. For a moment it looked as though Andrea Caldarelli would go up the inside of Bortolotti, but Bortolotti stuck to his guns on the outside line, and this is where Ricky Collard goes past the black Falcon Mercedes into 4th place.
But as I said, if you could hang on the outside and there's space for you to, there the contact. There was one of the, is that the 19?
Yeah, but it was an Audi involved. One of the Attempto Racing cars got right under the tail of Marcus Winkelhock. Yeah. Safety car into the pit lane and a change of position immediately, but was it before the start-finish line? They have to know which of those white stripes is the important one. Had to pull back in, and Felipe Fraga said, now is the moment, and has dived his ACA ASP. This is the class leader, the Brazilian leading the Silver Cup class. He's going to sweep wide, and Stoltz had to come off the power, and instead of gaining a position, he's lost one.
Yeah, he anticipated it correctly, but just a little bit too prematurely. So all of a sudden, here we go back to the race leader, Vincent Abril, under the Hugenholtz hairpin bend, up the hill through these magnificent sweeps and drops and angled and cambered corners, all the way through the sandwich, all the way up to turn 10, and then you've got the big dip and the compression, and you sort of leap out of it, and then the next thing you know, you're in turn 11.
Well, already the first 3 have made good their escape in defending that 4th position. Ricky Collard has lost ground to the race leaders. They'll be delighted they can concentrate on their battle. And Vincent Abril will be hoping that Andrea Caldarelli gets onto the tail of Mirko Bortolotti. In fact, a really good first sector of this lap for the race leader, the Monegasque, Vincent Abril. He was a 1/4 of a second clear when they crossed the start-finish line. It looks so he's doubled that. Bortolotti trying his best to hang on. Caldarelli in turn trying to keep up with him. Then there's a slight gap of almost a second back to Ricky Collard in the Aston Martin. In fact, it looks as though it's even more than that as they go midway around the lap through the slow corners, coming behind the outer paddock. They've got the final 2 corners to go, but it's been a really, really good restart lap from Vincent Abril. I think if you put the camera back on Raffaele Marciello's face in the garage, there might be a little movement in the corner of his mouth going upwards, because that's a really good job done by Abril. They've been desperate to win this year.
The thing that they need to do is not make the mistake that they made in Misano 2 weeks ago, is to make that last-minute cut into the pit lane, and the team are not prepared. There was no information that the 88 was going to make that pit stop, and they were caught literally flat-footed with no tyres available and ready.
It's a horrendous moment for the team when they realise they've got no radio contact with their driver, or partial radio contact, caught out in Misano in the heat of the battle and an incredibly hot weekend. It's cooler here, hopefully cool heads this time as well. A pit visitor, looks like number 17, coming to serve a drive-through penalty.
That's Tom Gamble.
Tom Gamble, well, he was pinged for causing a collision. They shouldn't have listened to us, but anyhow, we'll look at the replay again later on. This is looking backwards. What a fabulous shot. It also shows how dark it is out there. The sky is getting darker and darker. We're looking backwards from Bortolotti to Caldarelli. Well, it is close. The battle from Ricky Collard backwards is closer still. There's not more of a second gap for anyone in the next 6 cars, apart from the gap between Perish Compank in 9th and Clement Schmidt in 10th. The Audi's in a big pack there, but right now it's all about this lead battle. It's all about Van Sonnebril hanging on. We're looking back from Bortolotti's car. The car now in the middle of the shot, the 563 entry from the FFF Racing team. Getting closer all the time, Andrea Caldarelli. Looks like it's been a better lap for Van Sonnebril, a little bit more of a gap. It was 0.6 of a second on the start. All bouncing a little bit over the curbs on the exit, kicking up the dust, so little bit of breathing space added to Mirko Bortolotti. Down to the Hans-Ernst-Bock, it's still race leader Van Sonnebril. He was nearly 0.8 of a second clear on the start-finish line. 1.3 seconds covered the top 3. And again, Caldarelli closes in from the back, getting closer again to Bortolotti, but Abril knocking off the laps. He's got Raffaele Marciello waiting in the pit lane to take over. And in the lead of the race, you can dictate when you come in. You're not being held up by anybody else.
Well, Caldarelli has dropped back a little bit compared to what he had been on the previous laps or so. And that may just be because he's just worked the car, the tyres so hard that they've gone over their peak performance level. And where it's been a defensive drive from Mirko Bortolotti, who's not been able to attack the leading Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes is in. All 3 are coming into the earliest opportunity. Well, I got the 2 Lamborghinis right. I didn't expect Van Sonnebril to come into the earliest opportunity as well. But I have to say, it kind of makes sense for the Mercedes get Raffaele Marciello in. But look at the 2 Lamborghinis. It'll be a second place, won or lost in the pit stops.
Now that's a good move from the Aston Martin crew, because I think if the others had made their pit stops, all those cars have bottled up behind. So literally all of the top 10 have come in. I think Felipe Fraga, in fact, continued. So yes, he has. He is now leading the race, the silver leader. It's very, very busy in the pit lane here at Zandvoort. But I think for Marciello, he probably got on the radio and say, come on, Vince, you've had enough time in the lead. It's my turn. But let's see. The 88 Mercedes in from the lead. It's back down onto the left.
That's rolling. That's a good stop from ASP. 63 is rolling as well, but look, you've got team members from rival teams. So where is the 563? Still,
it's just leaving the pit lane. So Marco Mappelli has lost position. So the experience,
it's not lost position, but it's lost a lot of time.
Lost a lot of ground.
And he's gone over the blend line. Oh, I don't believe Marco Mappelli has driven over the blend line. Now that's a broken blend line as opposed to a solid white line.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on the warnings on the bottom of the screen. It looked as though the change from Lucas Stoltz to Mauro Engel was a good one, but certainly the experience there of the Grasser Racing team, they've always been good in the pit stops, and they gained ground, not position. They came out behind the 88 ACA crew, they came in from behind them. But let's take
there's the blend line. Now watch, everybody is fine, but all of a sudden this car in view now turns sharp left, goes over the blend line. In my view, that is a no-no, but it's a broken blend line as opposed to other racetracks where you've got a solid blend line. Need to check the regulations on that one to see whether that is a technical offence or whether it's just reading the rule book and understanding it very well. There's a wheel and tyre has come off some car, whereas that happened and that wasn't lying there as a... So somebody has lost a wheel and tyre. We haven't seen which car that is.
Well, let's take another look at... Oh, well, this is a reason why David doesn't have 4 wheels on his wagon.
That's the right front. That tyre is still doing about 60 miles an hour.
Well, that's coming out of Chevlag, so it almost...
Oh, it did catch him again. Side of the car.
Well, there we go, and it kept on running. It's gone through the next corner and keeping on running almost 2 corners down the track. The gravel trap will do its job, but that is why David Pirelli is in big bad trouble. He'll limp back to the pit lane. It's amazing what you can do on 3 wheels, but not at race pace. Race pace, though, is what Raffaele Marciello will be doing. Timo Boguslawski has now taken over the number 90 car, so the new leader, returning to the lead of the race, is the number 88 Mercedes, with the exception of the fact that Kim Lewis-Schramm is still out on the track. He has not made a pit stop in that number 5 Phoenix Racing Audi.
The 90 Mercedes has come in, has been handed over to Timo Boguslawski. That'll filter down through the running, probably coming back in somewhere in the sort of 6th to 10th position, depending on how well the pit stop goes.
So just as I was saying, the 88 Mercedes is back in the lead. Kim Lewis-Schramm has not pitted the number 5 Audi. That started some way down the orders, back on the 11th row, so 23rd, 24th fastest. And that will come in sometime soon. Can still have 3 minutes 40 seconds before the pit window closes, but Raffaele Marciello immediately onto the ultimate pace, as you'd expect in the Acura ASP number 88 Mercedes. So Raffaele Marciello into the lead of the race. Car number 24 now being warned for track limits exceeding those. Car 24 is one of the three Sansalot racing cars, Stefan Ortelli and Neil Stevenroth. That was the one that came in with a puncture very early on. Lost a lot of ground, but no ground being lost by the 88 Mercedes. Raffaele Marcello leading by 1.5 seconds over the Lamborghini of Christian Engelhardt. Marco Mappelli another 2.2 seconds back in third place. It's going out.
Up the back of the Lambo, all the way around the Hugenholz hairpin bend.
This is manna from heaven for the race leading. Vincent Abril will be starting to enjoy this race all the more. He did the first stint for the ACA ASP Mercedes team. He's handed over the 88 car in the lead to Raffaele Marcello. And now he'll be absorbed in this battle. Let's hope it doesn't come to blows, because it's getting very close, this battle for second place. Christian Engelhardt just holding on from Marco Mappelli. Was obstructed last time around. That let the chasing Lamborghini right onto his tail. And Mauro Engel surely will be starting to eat away chunks out of him. Yes.
Well, he is. He's catching them up, because now the pace of the 63 is slowing down the battle between these two cars. Marco Mappelli suddenly has realized, I have got a realistic opportunity, and by making a few little subtle thoughts and moves, he might put himself in the position. Mauro Engel is right with these two Lamborghinis, but he's got the same problem now. His pace is dictated by the 563, which is dictated by the 63.
Yeah, the 63 may actually be able, despite the flashing lights from Marco Mappelli in the next lap, if Engel can get marginally closer to Mappelli, that will buy the second place runner, Christian Engelhardt, a little bit of breathing space. But if Mappelli is going to make his move, he's got to do it now, because he can't do it when the Mercedes is right on his tail.
And there's adios, Raffaele Marcello, 3.8 odd seconds or more. Now 4.1 as they come across the line at the end of lap 26. Andrea Caldarelli strokes the morning stubble, let's call it that. He wonders how he can get Marco Mappelli ahead of the 63 car. It's probably too late to do anything about looking for a victory, and getting past is going to be a victory in itself.
So riding with Marco Mappelli, Lucas Stoltz got a little bit muscled out in his stage of the race, fought back a good pit stop. Ricky Collard was running ahead of that car when it came to around the pit stops, but Collard's car, the 76 Aston Martin, down into 7th place, lost out the pit stop sequence, but the second Lamborghini getting ever closer to Engelhardt. Engelhardt getting a bit ragged now, trying to hang on.
Well, he's under pressure, he's trying to maintain the gap. But look, I mean, Mappelli looks down the inside going into turn 12, nothing in reality, and you can put yourself into jeopardy, because that offers up opportunities for Mauro Engel. In fact, Mauro Engel could almost have sort of half stuck the nose of the Mercedes up the inside into turn 12, but thought the wiser and correctly better of it, because there would have been contact had he done so.
It's super tight. This isn't for lead, this is second, third and fourth. Andrea Caldarelli, his car's in third place in the hands of his teammate Marco Mappelli. He can only watch on from the sidelines. And look who's closer to in the very edge of the shot, Dries van Tor. He hasn't been fighting with anyone, he's just been keeping his head down. There he comes into fifth place. He was fifth place before, but he was 2 and a bit seconds down on Mauro Engel at the start of the lap. I reckon he's found probably the best part of 1 of those seconds to claim back. Yes, he did. 1 second taken off, so suddenly we got the best of the Audis getting closer. But let's go down to feel the pressure in the pits. We're down with Mirko Bortolotti with Dakota in the pits.
Yes, I'm indeed with Mirko Bortolotti. We're sitting in the engineering room. Mirko doesn't really want to move because he just cannot take his eyes away from this race. Mirko, this is so interesting, isn't it, this battle?
It's so exciting. Just bring me some popcorn and enjoy this fight, because this is proper racing. I mean, it's just so cool to watch these guys racing. It's such a cool track, and obviously the fight now for the podium is literally on fire. It's 4 cars fighting for the last 2 podium spots. At the moment, we have the best position with P2. The leader is a little bit gone. He's 4.5, 6 seconds in front at the moment. So it's just the fight is on for P2. So fingers crossed, 8 minutes to go. Maybe we can hold it, and it will be nice. It will be a really good podium for all of us. For 2 Lambos on the podium would be great, but hopefully we'll be in front.
Yeah, as you can see here on the page, it says 3-4 for you guys. And Mappelli looks like he's gaining on you guys, but maybe Mauro is gaining as well.
Yeah, it looks like they are a little bit faster than us at the moment, but Christian is doing a great job holding it off. And yeah, it's, as I said before, it's just a fight now. It's a wheel-to-wheel racing how we like it, and it's great to enjoy the show and I mean, have fun enjoying it at home. For us, it's a little bit
less fun because obviously we are in the fight, but I'm sure that we can keep the position, hopefully.
Fingers crossed that Christian keeps his position. Let's watch to the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Always great to hear from a driver who just loves his racing, and his car is in second place. That was Mirko Bortolotti, and his teammate Christian Engelhardt has not put a wheel wrong. But if there's half a gap opening up, Marco Mappelli will be diving for it. Up the rise they go, getting the power down as soon as they can. You can see the cars twitching. Another thing twitching is Vincent Abril, because his car is heading for its first win of the year. And we've lost. Don't tell me that's Boguslawski. Yes, he was leading the Silver Cup class, so Hugo de Sadalier was getting very close in the Aston Martin. 0.17 of a second between them on the penultimate lap of the race. I'm afraid the Russian racer has gone into the gravel. Vincent Abril can finally relax in the pit lane. He can get ready to celebrate with the ACA ASP Mercedes team. They took a second place at Misano, but that is nothing like as sweet as victory. And here sweeps the Italian Raffaele Marciello. He was looking a bit long in the face beforehand. There was a possibility. Go on, Vince, give us a smile, give us a cheer. Victory for the 88 Mercedes, and comfortably so. The second car over the finish line will be Christian Engelhardt in the 63 Grasso Lamborghini, with Marco Mappelli, his shadow. Third place, not good enough to put a smile on the face of Andrea Caldarelli. Still supremely well placed in the championship, but just couldn't get ahead of that rival Lamborghini team. Waiting for the car that's going to win the Silver Cup class. There it comes around the corner. Hugo de Sadalier, the 62 Aston Martin, crossing the line in 6th place overall to win the Silver Cup class. And the 519 Lamborghini will also take the victory in the Pro-Am class. Let's take a look at the finishing order. 8.5 seconds clear. The ACA ASP team started from pole position by Vincent Abril, handed over to Raffaele Marciello, and the job was done because the battle behind was the tight one. Christian Engelhardt trying his best and succeeding in keeping huge amount of pressure off his shoulders from Marco Mappelli. Maro Engel caught up into 4th place. Dries van Tor closed in 5th, but they could not pass Engelhardt. Engelhardt taking home the 12 points for second place, hugely well earned. And let's go down because John is joined by our race-winning pair, Marciello and Abril.
Vincent, perfect start, perfect stint.
It's about time. I think this place and it's a love story. I love this place. I'm gonna buy a house here, I think. No, honestly, thank you so much to the whole team. We all know it's been very tough at the beginning of the year. We had a lot of expectations, high hopes within ourselves and everyone. But for some reason, racing is not always going to plan. But we have a mega team that believes in us, and that gave us the tool today to fight for a victory. And yeah, the qualifying was mega. The pole was just a good feeling for me to be back there and to drive with Lelo. It's a pleasure. He's a great, fantastic driver, and I think we are very happy today.
Raffaele, a great pit stop. It gave you that little cushion initially, but then you just eased away from the two Lamborghini.
Yeah, I think like the TFF Lambo was a bit quicker than the Grasser one, I think. But everyone was quite packed, so I think I took a gap because of it. But for sure, the TFF Lambo was quite strong. Like I think the same pace as me, maybe even quicker. But because they had also new tires, because we had one set of leak in quali, but. I mean, yeah, it's, as Avin said, it was quite tough this year, and I think to be back in this good form for Misano and here now is good for Spa, because yeah, Spa is the big one. So I think it's a good motivation for us, for the team, to be back that quickly. Not only the victory, like to be back with the speed like before Spa, and yeah, but it's good today.
If they all could be so easy.
Yeah, today was quite easy. Let's say, like had a good gap, like luckily thanks to a good job to Vincent the mechanic, because we gained quite a bit in the pit stop. So today was quite easy for me, just need to drive and maintain the gap.
Super team effort, guys. Well done.
As Eric Fires brings out some very attractive looking glassware trophies to the podium. Sun has now broken through, just about down in the pit lane, but it's been a day where it's been little margins of weather that have made considerable differences to the drivers out on the track, and it was all about getting it right in qualifying. And the 88 Mercedes crew did exactly that. That's how they got pole position. For Vincent Abril, who takes the first of the two winners' trophy, he did the job at the start of the race. And for Raffaele Marciello, he stroked it home, knowing that battle for second place behind them with the 63 Lamborghini. Staying at the head of it was manna from heaven for him. Smiles all round. And for those behind them, they're going to have to choose to step up to the mark tomorrow, and rest assured they will be. Well, the sun came out just in time for the podium yesterday. Bright sunshine after a grey morning here at Zandvoort for the second of the 2 races for the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. Of course, the grid totally shuffled around. The second drivers set the grid for today's race, and we have an Audi on pole. It's the number 25 car that started way down the grid yesterday. Simon Gachet and the driver who took that pole position, Christopher Hasse. But track temperature finally getting up to a decent heat, nearly 26 degrees, air temperature just under 20. It's been a cool weekend, more like a spring weekend, but look down at the grid here at Zandvoort, the circuit that's going to host a Formula One World Championship event next year. And all is bright and colourful. Let's go down to the grid because we've got the drivers on P1 with John Watson down on the grid, Simon Gachet and Christopher Hasse.
Christopher, a very well-timed qualifying for race 2 in difficult conditions yesterday.
Yeah, it's true. It was quite a hard condition, a track which was drying up quickly. But at this moment, it was just important to get the best possibility of your material. And we got the right traffic spot, we got the right tire pressures, the right time to make this on track. And at the end, this is a team result and not just being the fastest driver on this lap.
Now, on a more frivolous note, I've just noticed your pink driving boots. Explain.
Yeah, it's somehow a lucky boots for me. With these boots, I was mainly on the podium, so I keep using them and hope for a podium at the end of this day.
Well, Simon, he's got the lucky boots, and what are you wearing that's lucky?
Me, nothing. I have just my teammate Chris. He do a fantastic job during the beginning of the season. So I'm very happy to share my seat with this guy.
Well, you share it. Bit more windy maybe than yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday was a little bit difficult for me in quali. I was on the traffic, but today is another day, and we need to take some big points.
You take it, man.
So that was Simon Gachet speaking second and Christopher Haase speaking first. They've taken pole position, and their best result, it's been a season where they've shown great pace. They have had a podium, 3rd place in the second of the 2 races at Misano 2 weekends ago, but conditions could not be more different. It was nearly 40 degrees air temperature there, twice what we have here. On the outside of the front row, Dries Van Toor, this weekend back with Ezekiel Perez-Compact. Last time at Misano, he was sharing with Charles Weerts, and the young Belgian duo took a race win. But Ezekiel back from injury. He injured himself at Paul Ricard, but back in fighting strength, bushy of beard, and he's starting on the outside of the front row with Dries Van Toor. So great mix of cars, but look at those flags. We just talked about the number 1 Audi crew, and John Watson is down with Ezekiel Perez-Compact and Dries Van Toor.
Ezekiel, great to have you back. First of all, how's your back feeling?
Well, as I always say, it's already a victory to be back here, so despite the result. But either way, yeah, my back is great. Thanks to everybody that helped me in Argentina, my family, Orestes, of Sinar Center, and everybody, because, yeah, it's crazy to be back so soon and so fit.
Dries, another great qualifying. Again, probably very timely in terms of going out at the right time.
Well, yeah, it started off well. At the end, I wasn't so happy because well, I made a mistake myself. I wouldn't say that would have cost me pole, but I would have been closer, I guess. But anyway, today is a chance to prove that, and I'll try to do my best out for that and see where we can end up.
Dries, it's a very tight, very narrow start-finish line here, and we've seen incidents in one of the GT4 events earlier today. I mean, what is in your mind to make sure you don't get involved in an incident?
Well, it's always good to start in the front. You know, you're not in the mid-pack where you know it's always difficult coming into turn 1, seeing all the braking lights appearing in front of you. So it's an advantage that we have, and try to stay there for the whole race. But I don't know. We'll try to see how the start goes. Hopefully, I have a good one and can go next to Haase and see what we can do for turn 1. But other than that, I think we can stay behind. We have got a good crew on pit stop, so we've got 2 options, I guess.
Clear air, here we come.
Thank you very much. That's Dries Van Toor and the bearded figure of Ezekiel Perez-Compact. Injured his back earlier in the year at Paul Ricard. Very, very swift response, and certainly cheering himself up on the front row of the grid. But the car that really is at the sharp end of both the GT World Challenge grids and also in the overall championship. The Black Falcon Mercedes, Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz. That's going to start 3rd on the grid. Always a factor in a race. Mauro Engel just putting on his balaclava. Lucas Stoltz standing behind the rear wing, but in high spirits, but such consistent excellence from them. 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 4th and 4th are the results from the first 5 races across the 2 at Brands Hatch, the pair at Misano and the 1st at Zandvoort. But look, conditions are changing all the time on the grid. Let's go to car number 56, starting 4th on the grid. The all-Italian Milan Donci and Matteo Trudi.
Milan, you're not really involved in the race for overall victory, but you're the Silver Cup leader in terms of grid position.
Yeah, it's really nice. Mattia did a really good job in qualifying too. And I'm really happy that we're standing in pole position for silver and 4th in the standing. So it's good fun, and for the home crowd, it's good.
So Matteo, you're going to be second in the car?
No, I will jump in firstly, so I will start. And yeah, we had a good quali yesterday morning. We are really in a good position for fighting in this race, so I will push maximum.
But you're fighting for your overall or just for the Silver Cup position?
I mean, we are in good position to fight also for the overall, but the other guys are really fast, so the target is to fight for the silver over classification.
Thank you.
So Milan Donci, the driver with the voice that sounded like mine at the end of our race at Fuji last weekend at the Asian Series, very husky indeed. But Matteo Trudi, yes, he's talking the talk about trying to take the Silver Club victory. They're starting 3rd on the grid. The next challenger in class is back in 13th position. But when you're that close to the front, you've got to go for outright victory. Car 63, always at the sharp end of the field. Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt. It'd be Christian starting today. And what a staunch defence of second place yesterday, pushed all the way by Marco Pirelli. It was relentless, but he held on to take the second step on the podium. The best result for the 63 Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini so far this year. Let's see what today unfolds over the next hour. It's going to be very tight indeed. This is a tricky circuit. It's easiest circuit to get close to someone, but getting past it takes a massive amount of planning. You need to pressure the driver in front to maybe have a little slip up. How's this for a car well placed in the Pro-Am grouping? 6th on the grid, Jim Pla sharing with Mario Ricci, and Jim put in a superstar performance, changing weather conditions. He got it just right, track conditions changing all the time, right at the end. Fleetingly got as high as 3rd on the qualifying table, ended up 6th, but way clear in Pro-Am. 3 rows, 6 positions clear of the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, so that's a really good run for the 87 ACA ASP Mercedes. Grid is now being cleared. The serious stuff is about to commence. So let's ride down the grid and take a look. Our wonderful smooth Segway run. You can see those flags blustering on the grid. Front row, Christopher Haase got it right at the end from Dries van Toor. So Santalok Racing, Audi team ahead of the Belgian Audi Club, Team WRT. They're going to rely on their crews as well for slick pit stops. Audi's really worked their way to the fore because Matteo Trudi is starting 4th in his from Attempto Racing, but Mauro Engel is waving the flag for Black Falcon and for Mercedes, the number 4 car, 3rd on the grid. Grid girls moving away with their marker boards, and that leaves us clear sight. The 63 Lamborghini, Christian Engelhardt will start, and Jim Pla leading the Pro-Am charge for ACA ASP in the 87 Mercedes on the right-hand side of the screen. Then comes yesterday's race-winning car, Raffaele Marciello, will kick off in the 88 Mercedes. Alongside, he's got Kelvin van der Linde for Attempto Racing. See how the Audis really came to the floor. The best of the Aston Martins, number 76, starting 9th on the grid, Marvin Kirchhoffer, and Christopher Mies sharing with the young Belgian star, Charles Weerts, a winner last time out in that number 2 Audi over at Misano 2 weeks ago. Fred Vervish for Phoenix Racing, and the next of the Pro-Am challengers, David Perel, starting in 12th on the grid for Rinaldi Racing in his Ferrari. The second of the 2 Aston Martins. This is the 2nd place car in the Silver Cup group, so far behind Matteo Trudi's car. Then Marco Pirelli outside of the middle row of the grid, and let's face it, that was right at the sharp end of the field yesterday. Show how things change around. Michele Beretta, Marcus Winkelhock, poor old Marcus got clouted out of the opening lap of the race yesterday. He'll be looking for some form of least forward. Oscar Tunjo, and then alongside the one Lexus in the race. Great to have the Tech 1 Racing team joining us, and today Aurelian Panis will go 2nd, but Jack Hawksworth will kick off with that. And then leading the Pro-Am Challenge in the points table, Phil Keane sharing with Hiroshi Hamaguchi will start 19th. Shea Davis, the Australian racer, will start 20th. Another Australian behind him, Nick Foster, and in between them, going really well in the Silver Cup, Thomas Neubauer, who shares with a very fleet Nico Bastian. Andrea Bertolini, the 2nd of the Ferrari, Stefan Ortelli, so much experience at the back of the grid. And the final few cars, Jean-Carl Vernet making his Blancpain debut in 2019, Diego Mencacha on the outside of the penultimate row. Wolfgang Triller, the only starter in the AMP Cup. One car is missing from yesterday, the number 90 ACA ASP car. Felipe Fraga went off with about a lap and a half to go. Car 2 damaged to start, unfortunately. And we're all set. John Watson's made it back up. Well done from the grid. All set.
Yes, it is. It is quite windy down on the grid, more than it felt certainly for the first race on Saturday. An interesting little fact popped up. An interesting little fact popped up. It was in yesterday's race. one of the attempter cars, I'm not quite sure which one it was, but its on-board camera picked up around the racetrack the nature that's in the sand dunes, and the nature in this form was a deer.
Yes, I too have just seen the photograph. You can see the shot looking through the windscreen, and to driver's left, just about to leave the grass to go to the circuit, is this deer. So that's sort of rather outright. It's more like the Red Bull Ring. Rather overdoes the marmots you get in Montreal, but we don't want any wildlife on the track.
No, not in the least, but it
just looking at the championship points there, just to stress that Lucas Stoltz, Mauro Engel in the Black Falcon Mercedes just went through shot leading, but it's only 4 points. But for Pirelli and Caldarelli, who are challenging, they're starting back in 14th position on the grid. So they are going to have to really keep their attack very consistent, but very tidy indeed. Taking a risk could lead to who knows what.
Well, the difficulty is when you're back in the midfield pack, as is the case with the 563 Lamborghini, the car that was, in theory, the quickest car in yesterday's race, but it's going to have to do an awful lot of work, but it's going to have to thread the eye of the needle. And we know that everybody, when they leave here, they've got about a week's work, a week to get prepared and leave and arrive in Spa for the 20. So it's not just quite simply there's 2 weeks between the two races. Any damage down here could have an effect, a knock-on effect on your preparation for Spa 24 hours and a fortnight's time.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday, and we've just been looking at Raffaele Marcello's race-winning car from yesterday, riding on board with it, the 88 car he shares with Vincent Abril. Just as I said a short while ago, the sister car, number 90, damaged, and hopefully now sent away, already working on repairs on that.
Yeah, I don't know the extent of the damage, but one would imagine that the pragmatic view was taken that let's get the car repaired correctly and give ourselves a little bit more grace and time and get the car back to the base and affect whatever was required.
Just looking at, oh dear, yesterday it was a disaster for Marcus Winkelhock. That car taken out on the opening lap, and today it's parked at the side of the circuit, has not got very far around the track. Hopefully that can be got clear, but that's just on the exit of Tarzan, so only got around the first well, it's a two-part corner. Another car I just want to talk about, starting 5th on the grid, the 63 Grasser Racing Lamborghini. That is starting under appeal because there was some potential glitch that its data logger was not working in the qualifying session for this race, but they put in the appeal. They're starting from 5th on the grid. That will be settled during the week. So Christian Engelhardt, we're riding on board with him.
Yeah.
Racing under a cloud.
Yeah, well, they're racing under appeal, but the consequence of that is that the race result in 1 hour's time will be a provisional result until the conclusion of that appeal is heard, and at that time then the results will be the classified results. Now whether they, just with that Marcus Winkelhock car, I don't know whether they will have cleared that or not, or whether there'll be another formation that required. I mean, the light has gone out on top of the safety car, so one is assuming that there it is, it's still by the side of the racetrack, and I cannot see how they could get this race underway while that car is still potentially.
Well, there's the message, extra formation.
There's a further vehicle down, you can see under yellow flags.
So that's absolutely the sensible thing to do, but for all the drivers it's about controlling their emotions now, staying cool, staying calm. A lot of them be saying, what's happening, what's happening? They will have all driven past, what am I talking about? They will not have driven past. So the WRT Brains Trust looking at screens, Vincent Voss in the middle trying to decide what's happening. Of course, he's got extra interest because on the outside of the front row is his number 1 car and more strewn down the field. But it's an Audi that's failed. The cars will come up on it now in this second formation lap.
So the race has not yet got underway.
It will still be an hour when we start the race.
Indeed.
That is the signal we're getting right now. So yesterday, poor Stephen Paulette, Marcus Winkelhock didn't get to take part in the race because that number 26 Audi from Santalot Racing given a bit of a biff. I think it was Tom Gamble in the number 17 Audi that gave it a tip, but it arrived at Scheffelack, but not with 4 wheels on the circuit facing the right way. And today it hasn't even got as far as Hugenholz box.
No, that's a real disappointing weekend there. Vincent Voss and Yves Wertz. Yves Wertz is the father of Charles Wertz. Vincent Voss, of course, a racing driver of his own, of renown, but now effectively the boss of the WRT Audi team, and they will be looking to the number 1 car, Yukizuki Il Perez Compact, making his return from the injury he sustained during the race at Paul Ricard, the 6-hour event. Now there is cloud as the cars head out in towards the sand dunes. Whether that's going to blow towards the circuit or not, I don't know. Lucas Stoltz, they're going to be starting back again on the second row of the grid, as they did for yesterday's race, but they only could finish 4th, and they feel that they need, particularly bearing in mind where the nearest competitor is, which is back in the 7th row of the grid, the 563 Lamborghini of Andrea Caldarelli and Marco Mappelli. So they need to maximize whatever they can do, particularly when they've got a kind of an open door with the nearest competitor.
Yeah, there was a slight shuffling of the grid of the natural order of things, because it was that quick-fire finish at the end of the session that Christopher Haas had got just right. He's racing for Santalok Audi, but this sister car from Santalok Audi, unfortunately, is being wheeled back in probably the back entrance to the paddock.
Yeah.
Very, very frustrating there for Marcus Winkler. Doesn't get to start. Stephen Paulette, his teammate who was knocked out in the opening lap of last race, not knocked out of the race. It's been a big strike through for them at Zandvoort.
Yeah, I mean, there are just some weekends where things never work, and all you can do is look forward to the next event. The next event is the biggie, of course, the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. So there's a lot of effort, a lot of concentration, preparation, both in terms of what the teams need to do with the equipment and the expansion of the equipment for that 24-hour event. But then likewise for the drivers, their preparation, ensuring that they keep up their physical training program, their dietary program, but needing also to get a substantial amount of what I would just describe as rest, to make sure that they're physically and mentally at their peak, coming up to the most important event of the year.
Yeah, so this focus has to be on here for now, but already they would have been thinking about the steps they need to take for the Spa 24 Hours right at the end of July. Fabulous, fabulous event.
Top of the steps.
Top of
Winner's
the steps.
podium, Bruce.
Exactly,
Winner's
sorry.
podium.
I'm just thinking so small. Right. End of the second formation lap. The clock has started running now, 57 minutes, so it did start at the start of the second formation lap. We are going to be underway. The safety car will pull to the side of the circuit, the pace car, if you will. 2x2 formation. How long will they be held? Well, beautiful formation there.
Yeah, what I'm concerned about, and Alain Adin came down and spoke to Christopher Hasse, and I think there was the way the field gets really, really tightly compacted, as you see coming through these final two corners. At what point will the race go green? At what point will the lights go out? Will they wait a long time until the entire field is on the straight, or will they let them go really as soon as the leaders get round the final turn, turn 20, which is where they are now?
Well, we've got 26 cars coming out to play. Red lights in the middle of the starting gantry. 2x2 formation, they're not going to flick it yet. As soon as they go green, the hammer's got to go down. We had an incident, we've got people jumping out of formation in the middle order. Long hold, now we're green, we're underway, and it looks as though, is Dries van Toorn marginally ahead, door handle, but Christopher Haas holds down that first position. Pause of breaths, who's going to do? Milan Matthias Drudy pushing around the outside, the number 2, Charles Weert's driven. Audi also trying to gain position, so just about holding on to the lead of the race. And Jim Plar in that blue Mercedes in 5th, 6th place is holding station, maybe able to pick up a place. So Drudy is being muscled out to the outside. Yes, he is. So up one place goes Christian Engelhardt. He finished yesterday's race. He started 5th. He's back into 5th. It's side by side through the sweepers to the Rob Slottermacher. That is bold to hold on to that position.
Absolutely. I mean, two modern GT3 cars are pretty wide in themselves. To get two side by side up the hill through Rob Slottermacher into Schlabach is something that is eye-opening, particularly on this opening lap.
Well, good steady start for those at the front. Nice tidy run for all those behind. Right back to Wolfgang Triller, bringing up the rear in the AM-class Ferrari. And it looks at the moment as though it's a very tidy getaway from Christopher Haas. He's getting away from Dries van Toorn. There was that challenge down to Tarzan first time around. 76 Aston Martin. Is that a little bit of bodywork damage? I'm trying to see if something was hanging off the back of that. Oh, wheels from the Rinaldi Ferrari into the dirt on the outside from David Pirelli there, but he keeps it under control, keeps the power down, and blasts back down to this corner, the Hans Ernst Boch. Very, very tight indeed. Tight in terms of the corner, tight in terms of the racing. And now it's Raffaele Marciello trying to stay cool, calm, collected. He started from, let me think, 7th place on the grid. He should be running in about that position, but it's all about not making mistakes.
Yes, I mean, you've got to be patient. There are not that very many places around the racetrack where you can execute a clean overtake. You've got to do your preparation. You've got to also remember that in the field there are a number of cars that are slightly easier on their tyres than some of the competitors. The Mercedes is on the easier side of that equation.
Christian Mies made good ground. He started from 10th. He is up to 8th. Now the Hawksworth car is coming through. The one and only Lexus, the Tech 1 team, picking up position. So good advances there. And it's very, very tight just outside the top 10.
Andrea Caldarelli trying to find a way around the outside of that sister car. I think that...
OK, we saw...
Bill Keynes in the 519.
Message on screen, drive-through penalty, jump start, car 19. We saw one in the middle order jinking out, and that was Michele Beretta, one of the 2 Grasser Racing Lamborghinis.
I felt that was not a deliberate attempt. It was just something, the car ahead of him backed up, and I think he just turned to the middle or the outside, whatever, to avoid a contact. I don't think there was any intent on what I would describe as jumping the start. That's the problem I was concerned about, is this so tightly compacted grid, waiting until everybody's almost at underneath the lights where they change, that there's always the risk of another incident occurring.
Well, Christopher Mies pushing very hard at the number 2 Audi, right under the tail of Jim Pla's Pro-Am leading Mercedes. David Pirelli, we saw him dip the wheels of that green Rinaldi Racing Ferrari in the dirt. He's up to second in the Pro-Am class. Let's take a look. The 19 Lamborghini jinked out of position. Now he's sort of in no man's land. He can't get back into his own line, which is on the pit wall side.
I mean, other than having, going up and seeing the stewards and explaining, and there will be data logging information available to the stewards to examine and determine if it was a deliberate attempt or whether it was a force majeure situation. But there is the lead. Look at the gap that Christopher Haas has got over Dries van Thor. Was 1.8 seconds when they came across the line on lap 2. It's now 2.7 seconds. Christopher Haas, with those lucky pink racing boots, is up and gone.
You'll be wearing them shortly, John, if they're that good. So Christopher Haas, as you said, leading by nearly 3 seconds. Maro Engel tucked in less than 4 tenths behind. And 5.19 starting to try and make its way forward. Needs to. That's Phil Keane, third in the Prime class. But there is activity from the very front of the field, right the way back to the 26th car. The 19 in to serve its drive-through penalty. That was the car we saw on the replay, getting it maybe possibly wrong at the start and jinking out of line too soon. Got shuffled back down the pack, and the drive-through penalty has put it stone last. 26 and the 26 runners. So where are the movers? Certainly the mover is Christopher Haas. What a fabulous opening sequence of laps. But the car I'm looking at, Raffaele Marciello's car, started in 7th position, down to 9th. Not
patience, Bruce. Patience. That's what you need today. Remember, a lot of overtaking will actually occur in the pit lane. So whichever team can do the driver change, the tyres, execute a clean pit stop will probably pick up a position. You can lose so much by being over-aggressive or trying to get to the position you want to do too quickly. Let it settle down, because in the case of the 88, there is no doubt that the field will come back in part to Raffaele Marciello. He's got Christopher Mies directly ahead, and there's a 3/4 of a second gap. I mean, it's almost an academic gap. You can see as the cars come through turn 19 into turn 20, there's only a half a second between each of the cars.
But it looks like a 10-car battle. It's actually a 9-car battle, but it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, all the way down to 10th. But look at the car leading the race. Christopher Haas, he must be 3 and a bit seconds clear. Talk about breaking the slipstream. Down to the green Ferrari. What's the gap now? 3.5 seconds.
He pointed out Jack Hawksworth in the Lexus. Well, actually, Jack Hawksworth just had the fastest single speed trap time in that Lexus. So that car is still, although there's only one of them racing here, and we don't see them very frequently in 2019, still a very quick car.
Certainly is. Started 18th, has moved up to 14th already. His next target is Fred Vervish, and that's not far behind Marco Mappelli, the car that was potentially the fastest car in yesterday's race. So the Tech 1 Racing crew, they're doing something very, very right indeed. But Maro Engel now really started to put the pressure on Dries van Thor. 2nd, 3rd, 4th place is Matthias Rudy. Not thinking about overall victory. Oh, yes, he is. Leading the Silver Cup class, but he's staying with the front runners, but nobody at all is staying close to Christopher Haas. He is like a hare. He's off, and I'm not describing Simon Gachet as a tortoise.
No,
he's
not
sitting in the pit garage.
So that certainly is the dream start for the 25 Zandvoort Racing Audi Christopher Haas. Nobody anywhere, and probably now, because of the nature of the racetrack, you're not going to see many cars even in your rear view mirror, other than when you come onto that long main, or the main straight.
Well, just again getting a chance to see Jack Hawksworth in the number 23 Lexus, entered by Tech 1 Racing, and it's really making a very good splash. It's starting to close up on the number 11 Audi of Fred Vervish, and Fred is nobody's fool, but 2nd place is far from settled for Dries van Thor. He's being flashed, he's being pushed.
Well, he's the cork of this bottle. Everybody's being log jammed up behind him, and there is not an awful lot they can do, because the straight line speed here on the straight is what's going to save Dries van Thor. The Mercedes and those that are following, Matteo Drudi, Christian Engelhardt, Kelvin van der Linde, Jimmy Pla, they're all potentially capable of lapping quicker if they could break free. And there you can see the number 2 Christopher Mies now right under the rear wing of Jimmy Pla in the leading Silver Cup.
Yeah, Pro-Am class.
Pro-Am,
started 6th, he's gone back to 7th, but we know full well he can fight with the guys at the front end. What we're seeing, though, is just a constant escape by Zandvoort Racing's race leader, Christopher Haas. He's now 4.4 seconds clear of Dries van Thor, gaining more than half a second a lap, making it easy. And these seconds, as long as there's no safety car, absolutely a gift to the team, because they can then time their pit stop and really make it when they want to.
Yes, and that's going to be a key to the outcome. And for Zandvoort, if they can get Christopher Haas in, do the driver change cleanly, Simon Gachet get in, then they are in the pound seat. But there's so many aspects, factors that will come into play. Weather is, well, it was about 5 minutes ago blue sky with billowy clouds. Now it's billowy clouds and getting more grey.
Yeah, the wind's still blowing down the start-finish straight towards the drivers as they charge down to Tarzan. Right now, riding on board the number 2 Audi. Great place to be with Christopher Mies. He'll hand over to Charles Weerts later in the race, so we can have the first pit stop when it says 35 minutes left at the top on the countdown clock, and through all the way to a 25. So when they make these pit stops is a matter of conjecture, because a lot of the drivers here, and most notably Christopher Mies, he's looking very quick, but he's stuck in behind the Pro-Am class leader, Jim Pla, in that 87 ACA ASP Mercedes, sitting in front of him and not looking at all flustered.
And all this group of cars from second all the way basically down to 10th place, running at the lap time that's being dictated by the car in second place, Dries van Thor. And in the meantime, there's now a 5.1 second advantage between first and second place for Christopher Haase. He must believe it's his birthday as well as having his lucky boots.
Well, he must be, and I tell you how, even the fact he's got a 5.1 second lead over Dries van Thor, you go from Christopher Haase in the lead down to 12th place, 13th place, and it's still less than 12 seconds, astonishingly close, with the exception that half of that gap is the gap between first and second. Haase ahead of Van Thor. Here he is, 25. Only won third place so far this year with Simon Gachet, but we've seen speed, we've seen a few mishaps the Sansalot Racing crew, but they're hitting their straps like never before, getting this Audi R8 LMS to really run to their tune.
Tail light's not working.
Yeah.
Is that a penalty?
Well, you're in charge, John. Let them know. Pop out, send him a pigeon. But Christopher Haase leading the way with as many brake lights on as he wants, John.
The fine will be in the post.
Jolly good. The thing that is fine is the drive from Christopher Haase. Look, stretching ever further clear. Dries van Thor, is he doing it on purpose? Is he going as fast as he possibly can? But he's bottling everyone up behind him. But right now, for Maro Engel, really looking about championship points. Third place overall. They finished fourth yesterday. But the championship challengers, the 563, that looks like rain on the lens.
Indeed it does, and I think it might well be raining that part of the racetrack.
We've had this before.
Showers certainly coming in.
We've had this before this morning and yesterday. Showers at different points on the circuit. Just want to finish the point.
Yeah, it is.
Through the final sequence of corners, maybe coming to the start finish straight. 563, Marco Mappelli, Andrea Cordarelli, featuring right at the sharp end of the championship, but they're down in 12th place. Windscreen wipers are on. There is the confirmation we need.
Alternative occupation for John Mortensen, weather forecaster.
It's your fishing background, John. Ever an eye on the weather, but it's now who's going to get it wrong as the track becomes slippery. Riding behind Matthias Drudy, looking through the windscreen of Christian Engelhardt's 63 Lamborghini. That's the one from Grasser Racing Team. Turning through the Gerlachbocht. Yes, even splashes on the lens as they go through that wonderful sequence of S's away from the Tarzan hairpin and then into the dip at Hugenholz and accelerating hard. Who's going to get it wrong? Who's going to find the tail getting a bit slippery on them?
It's from this part of the racetrack all the way up through the sand dunes until they get back down to the Hans Ernst Bock. And that's where it looked to me to be raining at its heaviest. And then you've got the next two right-hand corners, Kumba Bock and Ari Landsdijk Bock, another corner. So whether it was just a momentary shot, maybe, well, nobody currently may have seen on screen at this part of this lap is lap 8, have their wipers operating. So maybe it was just simply that one lap, that's when it occurred, and it's blown through.
It could do, but the only driver it wasn't raining on was Christopher Haase. On that lap, he gained another 1.2 seconds. He's 6.3 seconds clear in front. It's a fine day for him. The sun over his head. Now we're looking at the tail of Matthias Drudy's Attempto Racing Audi, drifting a little bit wide, leading the Silver Club. But right now, Christian Engelhardt in the Lamborghini in which we're riding is desperate to get through, but he cannot afford a slip-up.
No, but it was the Mercedes. It was Maro Engel who was really, really as close to the rear of Dries van Thor's Audi as you could get coming under braking. And now again under acceleration, this sort of seesaw effect. We want 63, Christian Engelhardt coming through the final turn. So a little bit of consternation in the WRT team. Maro Engel dropped away. I don't know what happened. Maybe he just overran slightly going down into that Hans Ernst Bock 656, trying to go the long way around, and that's a brave maneuver. If you do that, Drudy, just thinking about it, the reality is Maro Engel's got his hands full looking forward. Now he's going to have to keep his eyes peeled because he doesn't want to open up a door and let the 56 Audi slide down the inside, and that then again in the championship battle that's going on, put him further back in the potential this car has got.
Well, Matthias Drudy in fourth place, showing a lot of confidence as he attacks Maro Engel. Maro's recomposed himself. A slight gap back from the 56 Audi Drudy to Christian Engelhardt. He got closer, and And in behind, he's got Kelvin van der Linden. Nobody's fooled in the 66 Attempto Racing Audi, trying to close in. Best of the Pro-Am runners, you'll see him just in the background, shot dark blue Mercedes with the yellow splitter. That's Jim Pla. He's got 2 cars between himself. He's got Christopher Mies and Raffaele Marcello, and then the car challenging in Pro-Am in 10th place overall, the bright green Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. 10th place, the 333 Ferrari, David Pirelli at the wheel. There it is at the back of that pack, and the better of the Aston Martins, Marvin Kirchhofer in 11th place, but still ahead of the championship challenging car, the 563 Lamborghini. Marco Mappelli doing the first part of the race. The second half, it will be in the hands of Andrea Cordarelli. FFF Racing Team going from strength to strength. Burst into the championship this year, running 3 of the Lamborghinis, and yesterday, most notably, John, they seemed to have the fastest car. Didn't come out on top, it got stuck in traffic behind the Grassa Lamborghini, but really looked fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, that 563 Lamborghini has looked really, I think, outstanding all year. Wherever it was at Monza in the rain, Dennis Lind did an unbelievable job, and has been the case at Misano. It was certainly the case here yesterday, but again, Weibert's just beginning to be operated on the Mercedes, so there may well still be those little localized rain, not even a shower, just suddenly about the size of a quarter of this racetrack. It'll be raining, the rest will be bone dry. Fastest lap, by the way, and no surprise, Christopher Haase, 137.9 on lap 3 in that opening sprint, and he's now got a 7.2 second lead over Dries van Thor. But if he can get that up to 10 seconds before the pit stop window opens, he'll be very comfortable.
Yeah, well, if the weather conditions can stay as they are, maybe a little sprinkle of rain, but it's generally dry. Great drive. I'm really impressed with Jim Pla here. I know he can run at the front end, but he's in a Pro-Am pairing. Necessarily when the gentleman, the Am driver, gets in, that car, 87 Mercedes, will go backwards. But now, enjoying his place in the metaphorical sun, Jim Pla pushing very hard in 7th place overall. He'll hand over to Mauro Ricci for the second half of the race, but it's busy out there on the track. But where are the gaps that the overtaking manoeuvres can be at least considered? Haven't seen too many of those, but it's just going to take one slip up, and it can just be because of a little drop of rain or 2 that will cause the cars to lose momentum. And if you lose position, you could lose 2 or 3 in one go. That is for sure.
Yes, I mean, if you get out of position in one of these, particularly down here, for example, at the Ernst Bock chicane, you find yourself out of line, and then those that are lining up behind you just bosh, bosh, bosh. Before you know it, you've lost those positions.
Well, we had the train from Dries van Thor in 2nd down to David Pirelli in 10th. We've got 3 more cars now joined the tail of that. Marvin Kirchhofer, Marco Mappelli and Fred Vervish. Slight gap, then Jack Hawksworth, who seemed to notice the rain less than the others. And it really is closing up. Hawksworth in that one and only Lexus here this weekend. The rest in front, running line astern in position, looking for a mistake from anyone in front of them. Nobody has yet really hung it out and got it wrong, but now the pace starting to pick up. Christian Engelhardt just set his fastest lap, but as he does that, he then drops back at the start of this one, gets it wrong in Tarzan.
It's a bit of seesawing. What's I think notable is that the 88 Mercedes Raffaele Marcello, who has always been a front row, there it is, going through the Hugenholz hairpin bend, is unable to do anything with Christopher Mies in the number 2 Audi, and he's been stuck there. He lost position at the start, so he dropped position. He's now running in 9th place behind Christopher Mies. There's the 563. The Lexus is in for some strange reason.
Well, it was sounding fabulous last time around, running in 13th place, right on 14th place on Fred Vervish's tail. Looks like he's picked up a puncture,
well,
has he?
That's all I can think it is. There's no, the bonnet's going to come up, so maybe there's another issue. So I think it's all over this indication of crossed arms. I think indicated that the Lexus has had its afternoon here in mixed weather. Christopher Haase, 7.9 seconds ahead of 2nd place Dries van Thor, has got all the racetrack to pick and choose where he wants to place the Audi, and just keep it off the curbs, because if there has been any localized rain, it's the curbs that are going to be the danger part of any corner.
Okay, the 2nd place battle is as tight as ever been. Dries van Thor in the number 1 Audi being pushed all the way around by Mauro Engel, but the driver who's now just a whisker under 8 seconds clear has just been given a warning for not respecting track limits. He's not under pressure, but he's just trying to build the biggest advantage he could possibly get. So Christopher Haase, race leader, has got to watch out. In 76, Marvin Kirchhofer in the better place to the 2 Aston Martins in 11th. There he is in the grey car, just in the background at us, leading the car. 563, the Cordarelli Mappelli Lamborghini, that is the overall points leader at this point in the series, when the Endurance and the Blancpain GT World Challenge points are totted up. 20 points clear of Engel and Stoltz in that, but behind it on the track today.
Hugo de Sadler in the 62 Aston Martin in 14th position. He's got a battle with the number 10. That is the Audi. I've just picked WRT Audi down my facts and figures. But back up to this battle for 2nd place as they drop down yet again. And every time you come through this corner, you have to look skywards, and you are in effect because of the attitude of the car, but look around. has anybody put an umbrella up? If they have, you have to think maybe it's a reason for that. So that's what you are doing, not just focusing entirely on where you're placing the car, just keeping a weather eye about all the interests around the racetrack.
Exactly. So some points with this rising and dipping circuit, you can see more of the sky than others. But one thing that's a lot of the drivers at the front end now starting to be observed for running a little wide at turn 11, including Dries van Tor running second, and David Pirelli, who's second in the Pro-Am class, down in 10th place. But Dries van Tor, when he's busy at the office, I think we can safely say that, because Mauro Engel could do little more than just keep pushing him, just trying to get a bit loose in front of him. And all along behind him, leading the Silver Cup class, is looking very comfortable, Matteo Drudi. Fourth overall in the 56 attempt so far. There he is with the green rear wing.
He's kind of just waiting and sitting and waiting to see if anything is going to happen between the number 1 Audi and the number 4 Mercedes-Benz. So they are still locked in a battle for second position. And in the meantime, the gap between first and second is now up to 10 seconds. So that's a very comfortable lead. Other than something unexpected where you might get a full course yellow, then a safety car, he has done a great job to give Sanderlock a big opportunity here this afternoon.
When you see the pace that our race leader Christopher Haas is achieving lap after lap. Oh, just news from the pits is that we've just heard it's a steering problem for the Lexus, so very bad news. And also the fact I was really enjoying its sound down the start-finish straight. It's got the most magnificent engine though, so we'll have to wait to future events to experience that all over again.
I think I remember saying in last year's commentary, it's got a horse of an engine, and it is very, very powerful.
No, it really sounds absolutely fabulous. But anyhow, it's a stationary steering problem, and I doubt that can be corrected before the end of the race. But it's fast and furious up front. But Christopher Haas, it seems extraordinary when you look at his pace as he tears away, starting from pole position, that only his results this year, 16th, 7th, retired. Hurrah! Third place in the second race, second of the 2 races at Misano, 10th yesterday, and yet today he's not in the picture. He is out so far clear.
Yeah, I mean, it came down to the qualifying was a wet track going dry. It was all about timing. Christopher Haas was pretty much the last car that crept across the line before the checkered flag came out, and of course then the track was at its best, and he used that very cleverly to give himself that opportunity to start on pole this afternoon, and having done so, consolidated with a big challenge from Dries van Tor going into turn 1, but came out ahead, and since then he's never even seen anybody else in his mirrors.
Right, 1.5 minutes until the pit window opens for its 10-minute period of being open for drivers coming to make their mandatory pit stop. Interesting thing for me is Christopher Mies in the number 2 Audi in 8th place is dropping back from Jim Pla's Mercedes. He's bottling up Raffaele Marcello, but it does seem as though the Team WRT Audis, they were pretty quick at the start of the race, but maybe they just haven't got their setup right for today, because Dries van Tor is struggling here. Maybe they thought rain was on the way and it hasn't happened.
Well, other teams have made some marginal compromises in their setup in the event that maybe it could be done. So this is looking back from Christian Engelhardt in the 63 Lamborghini, now climbing up the hill, coming into these Rob Schlattermacher, of course, the skid school, so synonymous with Zandvoort for many years. And then this big dip and drop, and the compression just there. So Christian Engelhardt holding on to that 5th position, and the challenge from Kelvin van der Linde has faded marginally. Now, everybody is pushing, and particularly when you're in a group of cars like this, you're not necessarily driving your car as you would prefer to do, and that can have consequences, in particular with the rear tire, because it can get maybe overused, maybe overheated unnecessarily. But there's the race leader. He's doing everything to perfection.
Well, looks, who's that lining up to take over? There we have it, just waiting. So the first
WRT drivers.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was Simon Gachet waiting to take over this car, but 10.8 seconds clear, but there'd been one, if not possibly even a second warning. It may have been a long hole for the number 25 car leading the race, but Christopher Haas carries on his way. Keep him stretch that advantage. Of course, keep him out, but I was just saying.
I tell you, Dries van Tor is going to come in now. There we are.
You're a magician, John Watson. You're a magician.
WRT want to get that car in and put on a fresh set or a new set of rubber at the earliest opportunity, because they know that all they're doing is losing rather than being able to move forward. They can do a good job in this pit stop because that's what they excel at, as well as what they do actually on the racetrack.
Okay, so we know who was standing in the pit lane. It was the blue-helmeted Ezequiel Perez Companc, of course the colours of the Argentinian flag. He climbs back. Well, he climbs into the car. Dries van Tor climbs out, comes in from second place. Just remember, the gap was around 11 seconds. Now it's Matteo Drudi up into second place. He didn't pit. He was in 4th on the track. Kelvin van der Linde up to 3rd, and the leading car in Pro-Am, Jim Pla, up to 4th place. Half the field in for their pit stop. Another very tiny
but
pit stop.
behind the 63 Lamborghini, so Mirko Bortolotti and the Grasser Racing have done a better job. Look at the 4 Mercedes comes out as well, so Lucas Stolz behind the wheel. Now, that I pointed on that dotted pit lane exit, the blend line. It isn't mandatory that you stay to the right of it, but it is advised. That's from the steward. It is a broken white line, so it's not mandatory, but it's advised.
Okay, no change for 1 and 4. They made their pit stops, handing over to Ezekiel Perez-Companc and Lucas Stolz. But how did that Lamborghini get ahead of them? Because that came in from behind, from 5th overall for Christian Engelhardt, now in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti, and it appears to be in front.
All I know, Ezekiel Perez-Companc, who damaged the spine, he damaged a vertebrae, and maybe as fit as he is to drive the racing car, maybe he's not yet completely as agile, put it that way, to getting into the car and having been given it to him by... It's only a thought, can't imagine anything else, because normally WRT are absolutely on the button when it comes to doing their pit stops.
But don't forget the Black Falcon Mercedes was behind it, is still behind it, so I don't think there was a great deal of difference between the two of them, but the Grasser Racing team, you know, sometimes you go, I know there's a minimum pit stop time, let's hope they have at least achieved that, because a lot of advantage gained there by the 63 crew. And Mirko Bortolotti is out there doing what he wants to do, and does very, very well indeed. 32.5 minutes remaining, still 7.5 minutes until the pit window closes. The order will continue to shuffle, but what will happen at the front of the field, it will continue to stretch as Christopher Haas dominates from the front.
And Christopher Haas is in. Christopher Mies, I beg your pardon. Christopher Mies coming in, handing over. So that's going to be Charles Vetch goes out, rolls down the pit lane.
Well, here's our race leader, and handsomely so, nearly 13 seconds clear of Matthias Drudy. Matthias was leading the Silver Cup. He was running 4th, became 2nd, and a couple of the cars ahead of him pulled into 2nd, still made their pit stops. John.
Nico Bastian, car 25th, but that's because it's out of sync. But actually, on his out lap, has put the fastest single sector in Sector 2 of anybody so far this afternoon. Nico Bastian, always impressive, hadn't confirmed it with that speed.
Absolutely too. It's not good news for car number 76, being warned for not respecting track limits at turn 11. Not alone in that, but also its pit stop is under investigation. That is where Ricky Collard took over. Still Santalot Racing, Christopher Haas continues his lead, but possible problems for the 76 Aston Martin crew.
Yeah, turn 11 is... Everybody just takes a massive bite. It's called master corner. Everybody bites into the apex. Half the time they're getting over half the car, and in effect, if you get all 4 wheels inside the apex of the corner, then you certainly are abusing track limits. But even taking 2 massive chunks out of 2 wheels over it, you're getting the attention of race director.
Right, you can see the body language. Mirko Bortolotti looks like he's gained 2 positions by getting ahead of the number 1 Audi and the number 4 Mercedes, but he just banged in the fastest first sector of anyone. He is on a mission. Yesterday they held on to 2nd place. Now Raffaele Marcello gets out and Vincent Abril gets in. Don't forget that was running in 9th position. It wasn't a dream position. They were yesterday's winners though, and this is the car, John, the Mercedes you always think is that little bit lighter on its rubber. Let's see what it's like at the end of this stint for the Monegasque.
So the car down and Vincent Abril strapped in. Raffaele Marcello quietly just steps away as we go back to the lead car, and I suspect Christopher Haas is going to stay in this car for at least another 3.5 minutes, maybe 4 maximum, certainly close to the window, the 25-minute pit stop window closing.
Meanwhile, yet again, clonking the curb on the exit of the first pass, the Hansa-Bocht. Our race leader, Christopher Haas, may well be coming a tail right out. 76 has been given a drive-through penalty for an unsafe release and a black and white warning flag for not respecting track limits. So Ricky Collard's only just got on board, but it's all going horribly wrong. Is our race leader coming in this time? He's still got a potential 5 minutes. I don't think he's going to come in yet. Of course he does. I knew if I said that he would.
Yeah, there we are. So fastest car on the racetrack right now is, surprise, surprise, 563 Lamborghini Andrea Caldarelli, 137.4. That's his first flying lap on his fresh set of rubber. And we wait until everybody has made those mandatory pit stops before we get a clearer picture of where everybody is. And certainly there's the 63 Lamborghini Mirko Bortolotti, who was the beneficiary of an excellent switch around, turnaround by Grasser Racing. There was a lead car, so Simon Gachet will get in Santalot, and this is where they need to ensure that all that good work that Christopher Haas did has not been compromised by a not brilliant pit stop. So there is the car that potentially, well, Haas, now the Simon Gachet is rolling, and because he was near the pit lane exit, but look at the Lamborghini bearing down. There's not going to be an awful lot of nip and tuck between those two.
Yeah, I just want to point out we've got two Audis. It's a different Lamborghini.
That's a 63
That's the one
coming
that's
up.
effectively into second place. But don't forget, we've still got Mattia Drudi owing us a pit stop, and Kelvin van der Linde, both in Attempter Racing Audis. They are first and second in this race, on the move on the track, but they still need to make a pit stop. About half a dozen other drivers do owe us one as well. Jim Pla leading the Pro-Am Cup. He's now got one position, but 10 seconds behind him. His challenger in the class, the David Pirelli Rinaldi Ferrari. But it's a story of Attempter Racing keeping their drivers out, and Mirko Bortolotti, early quick pit stop as well, seen the best of the rest. Nothing to tell us that was under the minimum time, but very, very good work. If that was the case, about 5 seconds gained, I would reckon.
And Mirko Bortolotti, you can see from the way the car is moving around, he's driving the doors off it. And watch, does he? No, he doesn't. That's totally acceptable. Nobody would complain about that. Others have been cutting very much to the inside of the apex. There's what was the second place now. We're back again to what was the lead car back out on track. So Simon Gachet behind the wheel. So once this all finally washes through, the pit lane window will be closing in just under 2 minutes time.
So Simon Gachet picking up the challenge, given a very, very tiny advantage of around 14 seconds over Mattia Drudi. Drudi has now just arrived in the pit lane, or in fact he's going for one further lap. That could be his teammate. Yes, it's the car that moved up to second, the 66 Audi reporting to the pit lane now for its driver change. But a real change at the front, but surely that advantage that was built up by Christopher Haas. So the weather is not looking so it's going to change over the next half hour or so, so it should stay dry to the finish. But we did have a little flurry of rain, John. Cross your fingers, we had it.
What it might be here on the pit straight is not what it might be around turns, well, 14, 15, 16, all the way down to the two final corners onto start-finish straight. That's where the weather seemingly was most inconsistent. Here it's been reasonably clear. There hasn't been any rain that we've seen fall on pit straight, but down into the John Hugenholtz, that long cambered corner, then the climb up the hill, much steeper when you see it than it looks on camera, and then again the drop down through the Rob Schottermacher curves. So great drive so far, first by Christian Engelhardt to get the Lamborghini into position, but then now Mirko Bortolotti.
Effectively fifth became, well, you can see the difference on those pit stop times, because Dries van Toor's car, well, he gave it to Perry Compact, 44.5. Did you see the time for the 63 Lamborghini? It was 41.9 seconds, so 2.5 seconds gained, and that's why it's moved from effective fifth place before the pit stops up to effective second.
This battle, Ezekiel Perez Compact under pressure, and you can see Lucas Stolz trying to stick the nose of the Mercedes, and he's more or less found himself, well, just about enough, I thought he was going to say enough gap to capitalise on the exit coming out of turn, that was...
Well, that's
turn
coming.
10. That's out of turn 10.
Turn 10, 11, 12, 13.
Turn 13.
Yeah, and then they've gone down through the Hans-Ernst-Bock. It's a tight right, followed by a double left. So Rinaldi Ferrari in from the Pro-Am class for its pit stop. It's very busy out, but all along, let's look at the lap times for Simon Gachet. How's he getting going? His first flying lap just put on the board. Fastest lap for that car.
Just watch this, because this is the best chance that Lucas Stolz has got to take a position away from Ezekiel Perez Compact. He was right under the rear wing, coming into the turn 19, lost out marginally, maybe just got a little bit of wash, aerodynamic wash, as he came through the final turn and couldn't consolidate and maybe make that move.
Okay, I want to throw something. I just wanted to see the pace of Simon Gachet. A few laps into his stride in the car that came in from the lead. Christopher Haas did that brilliant job to build up a dozen seconds of advantage. He's lapped nearly a second faster than Perez Compact and Stolz last time around, just banged in that car's fastest lap. So he's building. Santalot Racing have given him a fantastic car. Christopher Haas gave him a really, really good lead, and Simon Gachet settling down very comfortably. He is the race leader. Car 563, just want to point out, championship leader in the overall thing, being warned for exceeding track limits at where? Turn 11.
It's always turn 11. It's the corner you can be. Here we are coming up to turn 11. Ezekiel Perez Compact. Lucas Stolz. Lucas Stolz took a little bit more of the inside again, fully acceptable. On board with Lucas Stolz now, looking at the rear of Ezekiel Perez Compact. The WRT Audi did get close to the car a lap or so ago at this part of the racetrack, but then as they came through the final two corners onto straight, just the aerodynamic wash coming off the back of the Audi had a bearing. There is the 563 close, and that's his principal challenger in sprint, isn't it? The 88 Mercedes?
Well, the 88 Mercedes is coming up on the rails. It's moved up into third place in the championship, but let me do the maths, 13 points down on it, so it's a real... It's the good thing for the 563 crew. Yeah, number 4 is leading the way. Jengel Stolz car, 4 points clear, 54 points, plays 50 for Cordarelli and Mapelli, and third now after that win yesterday. Abril Marciello riding low with Cordarelli's car, looking at the tail of Vincent Abril in that number 88 Mercedes. Down the start-finish straight they go. The pit window has now been closed for a minute. Everybody has made their pit stops in a drive-through penalty as well. That's cost the 76 Aston Martin crew. That's why they're down in 23rd position of the 26 runners. 25 runners, because of course Jack Horsworth back out on... No, he's in the pit still, sorry.
He's on the pit.
Hasn't gone back
so
out.
he's got Caldarelli pushing Vincent Abril to all he is worth. Can't get any closer than that in the Hugenholtz Hep, and then up the hill the Mercedes gets on the throttle a little bit earlier, gives up the initial squirt off the corner. But the Lamborghini, this 563 Lamborghini, of all the cars in the field, I've watched it over this weekend. I watched it at Misano. We've seen it all the way back to Monza. What the team are doing with this car is something that has made the 563 in particular look such a useful race car. You can more or less drive it pretty much any part of the racetrack you want to, and it just looks like it's always with the driver.
Yeah, certainly. It was very, very interesting looking yesterday as it was trying to hunt down with Marco Mappelli pushing so hard on the tail of Christian Engelhardt to try and get the second place. The car that's in front of it now was the car that stretched clear to take victory by 8 seconds. So for Vincent Abril, who's now at the wheel, and Raffaele Marciello, who brought it home yesterday, it was an excellent run from pole position. But today, starting further down the grid, starting from 7th place, it's proven difficult. Lost a couple of places at the start. And right now the order is Simon Gachet in that number 25 Audi that started from pole position, street clear in the hands of Christopher Haas, and the gap to second place, just waiting for Mirko Bortolotti to come through in second. He does so. What's the timing gap? Nearly 10 seconds. That is comfortable. Ezekiel Perez-Compact in the number 1 Audi comes through there in 3rd place. And 4th place, as it was yesterday, Lucas Stoltz. He'd be getting a little bit frustrated, but Charles Weert up to 5th. That car, the number 2 Audi, started 10th, so really, really good progress from him and Christopher Mies, who did the first half of the race.
So this is the battle. Lucas Stoltz in 4th, Ezekiel Perez-Compact in 3rd, doing a very good job, bearing in mind that I think the clinicians that he saw in Argentina were saying, well, you know, we think you'll be fit to drive in September. He said, no. I need to be back in Europe. I want to do a race in the middle of July, and then I've got Spa at the end of July. I need to be fit to do that. So he's gone, maybe against what the direct medical advice he has been given, but he's proven himself to be capable and fit. Bigger test will of course come in Spa 24, where it's a much more intense and certainly a much longer event.
It's amazing how many racing drivers, when given a prognosis how long it will take to recover, they forget the sequence of months and get them shuffled up. Anyhow, so good to have him back and going very well. You've got a story to tell, I'm sure, on that front.
No, I don't. All I can say is it's only a number. You know, it's only a number. If you want something bad enough, you get up and make sure you achieve it.
I did. I wanted lunch. I had it. I'm back in the commentary box here. And watching...
on a limited time span, Bruce, on a limited time span.
It's all about maximising your time, John. So, 563, being warned for exceeding track limits. Don't forget that's the car in the hands of Andrea Cordarelli. Been flying since he took it over. He's running in 7th place. He's just behind 4/10 of a second down on Vincent Abril in that 88 ACA ASP Mercedes. This is the battle for 3rd place overall. Ezekiel Perez-Compact, the Team WRT Audi, holding off with the Black Falcon, number 4 Mercedes. Lucas Stoltz at the wheel, not able to do anything about it at all.
It's very important that the FFF Racing, the Lamborghini team, and the Centerlock team, the 25 Audi, are advising their drivers that they are being, as you say, pinged for track limit abuses.
563, it's gone one stage beyond there. Andrea Cordarelli, probably cumulative what he built on from Marco Mappelli, but he's got a black and white warning flag. One more of those, they have to report for a spanking in the pit lane.
Well, that would be a great shame, but it just illustrates the commitment that is being made by everybody, and they're trying to, you know, pinch an inch.
Well, let's take a look. We're riding on board with Andrea Cordarelli. We can see the red tail.
This is the corner we're coming up to now. This is turn 11. Watch and see how much of the car. Well, he's certainly got the right wheels over it, but he's not done anything that, in this particular lap, that would raise eyebrows in my view. But obviously, on other occasions, he's had more of the right of the car over that curve than has been considered to be correct.
And Perez-Compact in 3rd place overall, trying to hold off the Black Falcon Mercedes. He is also under observation, but one stage back from where the 563 has got to. One more twitch from them at turn 11 on the wrong side of the white lines, and it will be a drive-through penalty. That would be calamitous for their championship challenge.
Yeah, I've been just watching the gap between 1st and 2nd. It's coming down in fractions, but not in seconds. It's only fractions of seconds. So Simon Gachet doing a good job consolidating the lead. It's 9.5 seconds between 1st and 2nd. So he's got another 19 minutes or so to go. It's if something were untoward to occur, then that 9.5 seconds could just evaporate. But at the minute, it doesn't look likely that the 63 Lamborghini is going to make significant inroads into that 9.5 second advantage.
No,
Something actually now has leapt up. Must have been an error from Mirko Bortolotti, because it's up to 11 seconds, so 1.5 seconds was lost on that last lap by Bortolotti. He must have made an error.
Leading the Silver Cup class is now the 62 Aston Martin. Went very well yesterday. I'm trying to recall. I think it finished in 6th place overall. Yes, it did. Now being driven by Aerovania, the Finnish racer. It's ahead of Milan Donci, but with a good advantage. Milan Donci, don't forget, that car started by Matthias Rudy, was running 4th early on. That's now slid back tonight, and Dutchman is trying to do something about it, but he's 7.5 seconds down on the 62 Aston Martin. This battle is one that's going to go all the way to the finish. The driver of number 1, Zeke Perez Compang, they're watching him, they know what he does at turn 11, they don't want to see any more of that. But he's still holding on to that 3rd place. Lukas Stoltz looking to see what he can do. And in the Pro-Am Cup, leading the class now, Rinat Salikov, fallen back. He was 10th in the hands of David Pirelli. It's back to 15th now, the Russian driver has taken over. But more importantly, the car that was running, I think, 8th, 7th, Jim Pla, started right at the front end of the grid. That's fallen back in Mauro Ricci's hands to 21st. So a clear Pro-Am advantage for Rinaldi Racing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jimmy Pla is a pro driver, and then you hand the car over to your teammate, and of course not at the same level, and consequently then you fall away. But they are in a battle exclusively for their own particular championship. They're not looking to win the race outright. That would be a bonus, but it's not what they're here to do.
No, exactly so. Can be confused at times. Still, Audi's as far as the eye can see. Number 10 has been making progress. Rick Broiker's getting off the tail of Finley Hutchinson's car. Milan Donci just at the front of that queue, and in front of all of those, but with some advantage, is the Aston Martin. That's going into Tarzan now. That's the car leading the Silver Cup. Aerovania's number 62. Looks like a place change may be about to happen, because Nico Bastian, a driver you always rate very highly, is pushing Tom Gamble, the Mercedes driver, goes to the outside. Oh, bit of a twitch under braking. 89 car as it tries to monster the number 17 Audi. But young British racer Tom Gamble, wise to that, controls the corner.
Yeah, he took the inside line and hugged the curb all the way around. In the process, he slowed down Nico Bastian's momentum. It's clever driving. That's what you do. You protect yourself, and then when you have to then go slightly more slowly than you would normally do, you make sure the person that's challenging you has to suffer the same pain as well.
You certainly feel it's going to be high tie wear for Ezequiel Perez Compang. He's using every bit of track he can possibly use to try and hold on to that 3rd place overall. Mirko Bortolotti almost 4 seconds to the good ahead of this battle for 3rd, running 2nd in the 63 Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini, but he is just under 11 seconds down with Simon Gachet. 16 minutes left in this race. Gachet surely is going to give a first win this year to Sansalot Racing. And on the sidelines, Christopher Haas won't taken his pink boots off yet. He'll be wanting that luck to carry all the way through to the checkered flag.
If it was only about pink boots and luck,
I would believe it. John, in his mind.
Well, you know, maybe it's a placebo pair of boots he's wearing.
Pixie Bear boots, by the way I saw them. But anyhow, here we have them down the start-finish straight. This battle for 3rd place. Ezequiel Perez Compang certainly showing no signs of suffering from his accident. It's amazing what adrenaline can do. He may be rather sore and achy after this race, but this half-hour stint for the Argentinian, he is putting up a really, really solid performance. And all along behind him, Lukas Stoltz is exactly where his teammate Maro Engel was in the first part of the race. The roles have changed, of course. Dries van Tor was in the number 1 Audi. Now it's Ezequiel Perez Compang, but the positions as they were. But don't forget, of course, that was fighting for 2nd and 3rd positions. Now they're fighting for 3rd and 4th, because the very slick pit stop from the Grasser Racing Team put Mirko Bortolotti ahead of them up in the 63 Lamborghini into 2nd place. There he is staying.
So on board, and this is Charles Vance. He is in 5th place, 3.5 seconds behind Lukas Stoltz. And he would be lucky to see the taillights as they Mercedes duck into turn 11. There is now Charles Vance in turn 11. And where is the Mercedes? And it kind of gets soul-destroying when a car you want to chase is never always inside. You just see it, you're turning in to turn 13, you just get a glimpse of it. It's when that car then becomes within maybe 2 seconds of you, then it's 1.5 seconds. That's when you get that little bit of extra push to push forward.
Well, we're seeing Mirko Bortolotti pressing on in 2nd place. Let's go down to the pits, because the driver who started, Christian Engelhardt, is with Dakota.
Christian now starting 5th on the grid. You've made up such good time in the pit stop. Well done for that.
Yeah, this one is really down to the guys. They train so much, and today they really did a great pit stop. It was a train, the race, basically, from the start. I had a good start, nearly got into 4th, but ended up staying in 5th, and had a much better pace than the car in front, or the cars in front. We were all stuck behind an Audi. And then we came in all together in the pit lane, and it was down to the guys. They made a fantastic pit stop today, and we moved up to second. So really happy about that.
Now, you've definitely demonstrated on a track where it's hard to overtake what a pit stop can really do to make up some of those times. Do you think Mirko will be able to hold on to second place?
Yeah, I think he's in a quite good position. Has last year's teammate Ezekiel behind. Defending and fighting as well, so he's in a quite comfortable position. I think he can hold on to that, and I hope that we finish the race in Q2.
We'll have to get our commentators to analyze the data to see if he can catch up or not. Thank you, Christian. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christian Engelhardt. I think Mirko Bortolotti, with about a 4 and a bit second advantage, a driver of his talent, should be fairly safe in second place. He's got no answers, though, just under 10 seconds down on the race leader, Simon Gachet, driving absolutely beautifully. But what I did see while Christian was speaking there, he talked of Ezekiel Perez-Compact. He was a Lamborghini driver, now he's an Audi driver, and that number 1 Audi had a massive twitch under braking into Tarzan. The pressure, I think, is starting to show from Lucas Stoltz.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt Lucas Stoltz is in a car which probably over the duration of the stint is going to be the easier of the two cars, maybe just simply because of the way the Mercedes uses its tires. But this is the battle that's getting very, very intense indeed. Andrea Caldarelli closing up, using a lot of the exit of the circuit coming out of turn 17. Needs to be careful he doesn't get caught. He's been pinged for track limits out of turn 11, and his certainly turn 17 is pretty much close to the limit. There we go, back to this battle between third and fourth place, Ezekiel Perez-Compact and Lucas Stoltz. Lucas Stoltz has tried everything, but it's not been sufficient to really threaten the number 1 Audi.
No, again, a bit of a twitch, just going of a slight undulation as they got the braking done before they turned into turn 1, into Tarzan, but it's no change for Lucas Stoltz. All along behind, Charles Weerts is just starting to try and haul them in a 10th of a second here or there. He's back in 5th place, but don't forget the number 2 Audi came up from 10th overall. Vincent Abril, we've seen that battle in the 88 Mercedes, and Andrea Caldarelli pushing very hard. And in behind them, Aero Vainio, leading the Silver Cup class, is trying his best to close down on them. He gained a 10th of a second last time around. So positions in terms of gaps are changing, but not positions in terms of positions, if you know what I mean. Still the top 10 as they were. But let's go down to the pits, because Dakota has caught up with Christopher Haase, who did that fantastic run from pole position. His car now in the hands of Simon Gachet, well clear, nearly 10 seconds clear. Down to Dakota.
Chris, you guys are absolutely flying. 9-second gap from Mirko. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We had quite a good first stint, I would say. The car feels really, really good balanced. And so then I already had the job to do to, make a little bit of a gap. We also had a fantastic pit stop. So the Santalog Audi is running quite awesome at the moment, but it's nail biting because, already in Monza and the Endurance, we were running on P1 and couldn't finish at the end. So I hope we have the chance to do it now. Simon is doing a great job, but it's still 10 minutes to go, and
Thank you very much. You got to thank Dries as well. He was going a little bit slow behind you, holding everyone off. Good luck.
Thank you.
I love it when drivers know that the clock's counting down and they don't know what to say. We've got 10 minutes to go. Yeah, because they know that it's motor racing and all sorts of things can happen. The deer could re-emerge and make a cameo roll around the back part of the track in the dunes.
The only thing you want, if you get a few deer around the racetrack, is Santa Claus on a sleigh.
As opposed to Santa Lock and his Audi. How about that one?
Good, yeah, fine. There it is.
There we go.
The lead car, 9.9 seconds, so the gap has sort of hovered, went up to 11.5 seconds. That was a bad lap by Mirko Bortolotti. He got it back now under the 10 seconds, 9.7 a few minutes ago, now up to 9.9. So Simon Gachet is able to actually modulate his own race pace to keep the gap in that 9.5 to 10 second region, which means that he's not doing anything. He's driving the car almost in a manner relaxed as we go back to this battle for third and fourth place, which is a somewhat more stressful situation, particularly for the number 1 Audi.
Well, it certainly is, and in their own way, they're both delaying the other. Yes, the number 1 Audi is still ahead in the hands of Ezekiel Perez-Compact, Lucas Stoltz pushing all along, but they're both slightly compromised, one by having to be defensive, the other by having the other car where he wants to go. So all along, the race-leading duo of Gachet and Bortolotti pulling clear. Good run here.
This time, this is the best chance that Lucas Stoltz has had. He had to put the brakes on because he almost overran the back of Perez-Compact coming through the final turn, and that again is probably going to compromise the run he was building to make as he comes down start-finish straight. Is he going to think about it? He's a bit too far behind, but it would be a brave and probably foolish attempt to take a position away. It would most likely end up in contact with the third place Audi. So Lukas Stolz did good work to get himself into that position, but had to compromise by getting off the throttle and putting the brakes on just in the middle of turn 20.
And every time that happens, not that it's happened too many times, but each incident, a little bit of momentum lost allows the first two of Simon Gachet, who's best part of 10 seconds clear of Mirko Bortolotti, to pull ever further clear. They're 6 and a bit seconds up the road from this battle. Lukas Stolz looking through his windscreen, the number 4 Mercedes in 4th place. 4th place seems to be its finishing position. It's had 2 of them in succession. Started with a 2nd, then a 1st, then a 3rd, and then 2 4ths, and it looks like it's heading for 4th place today. 8.5 minutes remaining. Will there be a little opening of the door to allow the Mercedes through? Certainly he is getting closer more frequently now as we head towards the end of the race.
Yes, and it's not particularly a surprise, because you would assume that the Mercedes is probably, in terms of tyre condition, maybe slightly better off than Perez Compact and the Audi. And again, look how close Stolz can come as they come out of turn
Turn 13.
Turn 13. So you can't get any closer. He's looking almost to find a long way around, then make the undercut on the. This is the point of the racetrack where 1 lap ago, again, he's finding himself in the same situation, not to overrun. Like, he's almost tapping the back of the Audi as he gets through turn 19. Again, the gap just fractionally opens up, and that's no doubt caused by the aero wash from the rear of the Audi just having an effect on the front end grip of the Mercedes.
Try again. He doesn't want to have to dab those brakes. We had to balance the car, or risk clipping Perez Compact down to Tarzan. Again, it's covered by the Argentinian. This is the battle for 3rd place. 7 and a bit minutes left in this race. Simon Gachet is, his advantage has come down in the lead of the race. He's down to 9.48 seconds, but that is comfortable as the clock continues to come down, and it really, really won't help Lukas Stolz. He needs to find a couple more occasions, and maybe he can convert one of them out of the Hugenholzbock, up down into the little dip, and then the compression takes you to the left. Rob Slottermacher-Bock. We've seen drivers clouting the curbs on either side of the track here, being unsettled before you arrive at Chevlac is very scary indeed.
Yes, indeed, and I'm wondering where he's thinking, where can I make, with what, 6.5 minutes or so of the race remaining, where can I make one dive that might enable me to get onto the podium?
Okay, let's just run down the classes. 8th place overall, but leading the Silver Cup class by, it's now a dozen seconds. Aero Vegno in the 62, SRO Motorsports Aston Martin, Milan Donche in the 56, Attempter Racing Audi that started 4th, down to 9th, but still running 2nd in class. And Rick Breukers in 11th overall is 3rd in the Silver Cup class. He's racing for Team WRT. Best runner, leading runner in Pro-Am is Rinat Salikov, as that battle continues to rage for 3rd place. Keeping an eye on that, just running down the timing screens. 2nd in Pro-Am is now Louis Machils, and Neil Stevenart is 3rd. And Am class, it's all the way. It's Florian Schulze to the finish.
Maro Engel keeping an eye on what's been going on, and it hasn't really changed since these two drivers exchanged cars. So the Black Volta Mercedes has been running more or less in the exhaust fumes from the Audi, and unable, as hard as Lukas Stolz has tried, been unable to make any progress whatsoever.
Simon Gachet running a lonely race. There's the 2nd place Lamborghini number 63 of Mirko Bortolotti, and that is the gap coming out of Tarzan now towards the Gerlach Bock sweepers. 3rd and 4th, Ezekiel Perez Compact. Lukas Stolz, car in 5th is Charles Wirtz. He's been trying his best to chip away at their advantage, but actually last time around lost a little bit, but he looked stuck in 5th place, and Andrea Caldarelli's decided he likes that Mercedes so much he's going to give it a little kiss up the rear. But I think we went just short of contact. This is the battle for 6th place. They know they must need the points. They know they must score the points, must land them, must put them in the bag, whatever you want to say. But 6th and 7th, it's not a big haul of points, but it's all about making sure you don't come away with nothing. But certainly for Simon Gachet and Christopher Haas, who are dominating this event as we get closer and closer again, they're well clear for the full points.
You cannot get any closer to another race car other than when you might run into the back of it, and Caldarelli had to stay to the left of the Mercedes coming down into turn 13 to ensure that there wasn't any contact. So there is the camera from the side of the racetrack. You get the view to Caldarelli's driven the wheels off the Lamborghini to force an error from Vance and Abril, and the Mercedes still has not achieved that goal.
Well, a car that went well in the early stages of the race. Oh, we've just had the 66 Audi pulling into the pits. That's Clement Schmidt. Kelvin van der Linde went well at the start, and we've had a car facing the wrong way around. So I'm afraid that's over and out. But it's not one of the front runners. So we'll just focus on this battle at the moment, looking down at the Mercedes 88, still holding down 6th place. The hands of Vance and Abril, yesterday's race winner. And the driver who's pushing him so hard, Andrea Cordarelli in 7th, and all along behind them, Aero Vegno leading the Silver Cup class is hauling them in. That SRO Motorsport Aston Martin getting onto their tails. And now a dive up the inside, but a dive repressed, a dive kept under control. The Mercedes stays in front. Vincent Abril did just enough, didn't want to compromise his line too much, but then eventually had to come onto a tighter line to block any possible opening of a door. So parked up at the edge of the circuit, one of the Audis. It's Rick Broiker's car, number 10. I was just trying to identify the one, and that has parked at the edge of the circuit, running with the red flashes, whereas this weekend the yellow flashes are on the number 2 sister car. That's the one that's running in 5th place in the hands of Charles Weerts, ahead of this battle, in fact comfortably ahead of this battle, 2.5 seconds clear, not being troubled from behind and not close enough to trouble Lucas Stoltz, running 5th, 1.8 seconds down on Lucas Stoltz. Stoltz though is busy, we know he's got a busy day in the office. There he is, just going through the front of our shot there. Lucas Stoltz still pressing the number 1 Audi of Ezekiel Perez Compact. But nobody can do anything about the Sansalot Racing Audi. 3 minutes remaining in this race. On board with Andrea Cordarelli, the lead FFF racing team. Lamborghini took that first win at Misano 2 weekends ago, but today looks though 7th is the best he can do. Not for want of trying though. That wonderful onboard camera work has shown us as we go past. It's very close to the exit of the final part of the Hans Ernst box sequence of corners. That number 10 Audi facing the wrong way. So Rick Broikers have been making good ground, fighting with Finley Hutchinson, but it's over and out for the 10 car for this weekend. No points for them. Aston Martin, as I said, back of the shot. This is 6th, 7th and 8th. Vincent Abril in the ACA ASP Mercedes. Andrea Cordarelli, the FFF Racing Team Lamborghini, and then in behind the better placed of the 2 SRO Motorsport Aston Martins, Aero Vegno having a very good run, heading for victory in the Silver Cup class. Are there any more shots to be fired by Andrea Cordarelli? Certainly brilliant, brilliant footage as we look at the rear end yet again of the car. Started by Raffaele Marcello from in 7th place, been brought home in 6th by Vincent Abril. Vincent, the driver from Monaco, leaving no gaps and leaving no stone unturned in continuing to straight. In fact, he's extended his advantage back over 10 seconds again. So brilliant opening stint from Christopher Haase, a flawless finishing stint from Simon Gachet. Got it all under control. He's coming around 2 more corners to go, and he'll go on to the final lap of the race. Absolutely had a race of his own, or this car has had a race of its own since Christopher Haase pulled away incredibly quickly starting from pole position. The number 1 Audi tried to give chase, but in the hands of Dries van Tor, clearly not handling as he wanted it. Indeed, dropped away and held up all those behind him. At one point, we had 2nd through to 13th place, nose to tail. Second half of the race, some of the teams have done a better pit stop than the others, and the order was a little bit shuffled, and the big beneficiary was the 63 Lamborghini crew, Grasser Racing Team, just about to come into the rear of your shot, coming into Tarzan. That is the example, 1st through to 2nd, so it's done well to finish 2nd. 2 days running to get some very, very useful points, but today it's going to be the maximum point haul for the Sansalot Racing Team. Number 25 crew, Christopher Haase, who qualified on pole and is going to streak through. He streaked through to a 12-second advantage by the time he handed over for the pit stops, and Simon Gachet has done the rest. Mirko Bortolotti immediately quick when he took over from Christian Engelhardt, but it was the work of the crew in the pit lane, saved about 2.5 seconds and gained them 2 positions, up from 4th to 2nd. Thank you very much indeed. Incident between cars 66 and 10, under investigation 66. Number 10 is Rick Broikers facing backwards, and the car that came into the pits at about the same time clearly might have had contact. They were fighting just at the tail at the end of the top 10, maybe 10th to 12th places, and Clement Schmidt in the pit garage. He's a Tempo Racing Audi, and the Team WRT Audi facing backwards is Rick Broikers, so may yet be some words to be had. Now the only car running in the AM class is just in front of this battle for 3rd place overall, but no such problems at all for the race leader. For Sansalot Racing, finally hit the top step this year, and look at this, a wonderful sweep. The first Audi win of the year came 2 weekends ago at Misano, and now another Audi win, but this time it's the Sansalot Racing Team, and it's Simon Gachet. Lights are flashing in the background. He takes the checkered flag. Christopher Haase up there on the pit wall, works Audi driver really with a big, big smile on his face. 2nd place, another really good job there from the 63 Lamborghini crew from Grasser Racing Team. But it was all about Sansalot today. Third place, it's just going to be the number 1 Audi, so great run there, really staunch defence from Ezekiel Perez-Companc. The Black Falcon Mercedes, yet another 4th place. Charles Weert's 5th, the number 2 Audi. Vincent Abril hangs on in the ACA ASP 88 Mercedes to 6th place. Right on his heels is Andrea Caldarelli. Leading Silver Cup car is 8th place Aston Martin, but joy at Sansalot Racing. They've been getting stronger and stronger, and there they are, not just a podium position, but the top podium position. And here's the car coming through to win Pro-Am. 15th place overall, Rinat Salikov, the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Yep, another very, very useful haul of points for them. So job well done. Good start by David Pirelli. Rinat Salikov did the rest. So the final knockings, if you will. So the 62 Aston Martin, just to reiterate, took the victory in the Silver Cup car. But the car on your screen, started by Christopher Haase from pole, with the second half of the race done by Simon Gachet. Their best results until now in 2019 was a 3rd place at Misano. This is far, far better. The top step here at Zandvoort. The eventual margin of victory, 9.9 seconds first to second. In the Silver Cup class, the advantage for the 62 Aston Martin Aerovania Hugo de Santelier, they had a 13-second advantage. Oh no, Mauro Ricci's had a spin on the final lap. I just noted him down. They'd got back, the 87 Mercedes got back into 3rd in the Pro-Am class, but that has changed now. Hiroshi Hamaguchi, class leader, sharing with Phil Keane, has taken with that spin on the final lap. How cruel is that? What a race of disappointment right at the end. It was looking good for a useful haul of points for the Acura ASP Mercedes in the Pro-Am class. Jim Pla ran right at the front end of the field, ran in the top 6, and then unfortunately for Mauro Ricci, just at the end, it all went wrong. But let's take a look at the results. 9.9 seconds from first to second. What a run from Christopher Haase and Simon Gachet, who brought it home for the Santalot Audi team. Mirko Bortolossi, Christian Engelhardt, useful points here. 2 second places. Fabulous runs. And Ezekiel Perez-Companc, back from injury, resisting all the challenge from Lucas Stoltz to hold on to that 3rd place for the Team WRT Audi crew. And as you can see, just a 1/3 of a second ahead of Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel. So a lot of action in that race, but an exemplary run from Santalot Racing. So Christopher Haase bounds like a bunny into the photo and lands at the window. The door is open, and Simon Gachet, his French teammate, will come out, and you'll see some huge, huge smiles. The Santalot Racing team is just getting stronger and stronger year on year. So to them, the spoils this weekend. Out comes Simon Gachet, and yes, release the tension. Uncork the joy. More uncorking will happen with the champagne up on the podium, but hugs all around, and what a masterclass from the 25 Santalot Racing Audi crew here at Zandvoort. They will remember this day with a huge amount of affection and great fondness, because it's come out with the top result, and it wasn't just a win, it was win by the best part of 10 seconds. So that is hugely, hugely impressive.
Yes, mate, yes. Well done. Yes.
So Santalot Racing, plenty of celebration. The Marseillaise will ring out when they reach the top step of the podium, as the French winning team has got all the donks joined up today.
You're a monster.
So it's Mercedes setting the pace in the championship early on, the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe, and now the pendulum is swinging towards Audi. But as you can see, many different performances. Lamborghini right in the mix as well. They took the first win for the Italian mark this year at Misano a couple of weeks ago. 2 second places for the Grasser Racing Lamborghini team suggested that they are super resilient as well. Dries van Tor comes up to say congratulations to Christopher Haase. They started alongside each other on the front row, but oh sorry, that was Simon Gachet. But most clearly at the start of the race, it was all about the Santalot car, able to pull clear with every lap, whereas Dries van Tor was very, very busy indeed, holding on to that second place. He was resilient, he kept on to it. His teammate, here we are, the bearded figure of Ezekiel Perez-Companc, he did exactly the same role and completed the race in 3rd place. Pirelli winners' caps down there, facing one way, facing the other, but we'll have them right way around for the interview, because for Christopher Haase and Simon Gachet, it will be the winners' interview very soon indeed. They want to just greet their teams beforehand, but thumbs up all around, big smiles. The afternoon has suddenly turned very, very sunny indeed for the French-German pairing in the 25 Audi. There it is, not just the pro victory, the overall victory, and a job done very, very well indeed.
Yeah, we're all set to go.
So I hear the voice of John Watson in the background in my ear. And John has got our winners today. The driver who started Christopher Haase, handed to Simon Gachet, full points.
Simon, you must be delighted.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here today. It was an hard race, but Mr. Haase did a fantastic job during all the weekend. It was easy for me at the end to keep my place. So thank you, Saint-Aloc. Thank you, Mr. Haase. Thank you, all the team.
Well done. Christopher, you got the lead. It was always a bit difficult into turn one. Dries van Thor tried to take the position away, but once you got ahead, you were just gone, man.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little bit surprised too, but I had such a good balance in my Saint-Aloc Audi, and at the same time even such a good speed. So for me it was just to give the rhythm, and for sure today I call it a perfect race.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
Now that is a very rare occurrence, a driver to describe something as a perfect race, but when you nail a thing as close as this and come home 10 seconds to good, it's very tight indeed. Let's go down to the crew that finished second for the Grasser Lamborghini team.
Christian,
yeah,
happy now?
Yeah, happy. Happy. It was a good race.
And
yeah, well, at the start I nearly got a position, but then I had to settle for P5, stayed in P5, and was a little bit like a train, a little bit more pace in the car, but couldn't risk it to pass. So I stayed there and tried to be really close when we entered the pits. Everybody went really early for the undercut. And then the guys just did a fantastic pit stop. And today I think it's down to them. Amazing tire change. This is what gave us a chance to jump to P2. And we finished there. Mirko did a really good job as well, so really happy about the race.
Good job. Mirko, obviously the pit stop made a massive difference to you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the fact that it was all queued up from the second position, and Christian was obviously in P5, really close to them, gave us a chance to do an undercut. As Christian said, we had a really good pit stop, so huge thanks to the guys, to the Grasser Racing Team crew. They did an amazing job this weekend, as usual. Gave us the chance with a really quick pit stop to come out on new tires. I had a really good undercut, really good initial laps, getting the peak out of the tire, setting the fastest lap of the race in that part. I don't know if it stayed until the end, but it was really good.
Listen, I don't want to rain in your parade, but there was one lap you lost 1.5 seconds. What happened?
You always sometimes, you know, you push so hard and it can always go wrong, but I don't know exactly. I think there was a yellow flag or something, and if there is a yellow, you cannot push. So
I don't know. I didn't see yellow, but anyway, I'll take it. It was a yellow flag. Good job. Well done.
And indeed, it was the fastest lap of the race, set in that charge by Mirko Bortolotti, but there was nothing he could do about the pace of that Saint-Aloc Racing. The number 25 Audi, that was exemplary today. But John has caught up with the crew that came home in third place, Dries van Thor and Ezekiel Perez-Companc.
Dries, you almost got the lead into turn one on the opening lap.
Yeah.
Almost.
I tried, but after that, I don't know.
It was a struggle.
Yeah, I was on the struggle bus, I must say. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I was sliding everywhere instead of sliding straight. But it was a hard stint for me, defending from Mao. But at the end, yeah, we pulled it off. We kept them behind us somehow. We lost one position in the pit stop though. But anyway, I think, yeah, we can be happy that we're on the podium, not somewhere else. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Ezekiel, on your comeback drive, you got the long straw, you got the long stint.
Yeah, to be honest, it was tough. It was a tough stint. And luckily, we had to release a little bit later the car because there was a Mercedes coming, so if not, it was going to be an unsafe release. But either way, we kept it in front of the Mercedes. Yeah, we struggled a lot, but it was a good comeback, yeah.
And Lucas Stoltz tried everything in the book to find a way past, but couldn't make it.
Yeah, to be honest, I know he's fighting for the championship, so I knew he was not going to take like big risks. So yeah, I just kept it clean, made sure that I was pointing straight when going on power, just to make the rear go down, and yeah, we kept him behind.
Good comeback.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Slightly depressed air there for Dries van Thor. Maybe hope for greater things than third place when he started second, but clearly the car a bit of a handful. But both he and his teammate Ezekiel Perez-Companc, super defensive drives to at least get to the podium, and that helping of points. And now the drivers should be assembling upstairs inside the building, ready to come out onto that balcony into the sunshine. And the biggest smiles of all, of course, will be on the faces of the drivers who took victory. Simon Gachet, who brought it home, and Christopher Haas, who led away from pole and did not put a wheel out of line. So the photographers, the friends, the family, the crews, and now the ceremony about to start up on the podium. The camera is getting into position and the trophies will be brought out very soon indeed. But the drivers will be the first ones welcome out on the podium, and a job very, very well done indeed for all of the top three crews. Of course, it's so competitive in the Blancpain GT World Challenge, and today was no different. But the team that really got everything lined up and pulled out a perfect result is Sansalot Racing here in the sunshine at Zandvoort. We had that little flurry of rain very early in the race, but it passed through. And now we have a wonderful dry track, and people will wonder what they were thinking about with regards to weather. In the shade behind the back of the grandstand, windy down there you can see, but the third place crew are about to be called out onto the podium.
We gaan beginnen aan de tweede podiumceremonie voor overall bij de World Challenge hier op circuit Zandvoort. Third place overall for Belgian Audi Club team.
So just waiting for the Belgian Audi Club team WRT outfit, and out they come. Dries van Tor, not a smile to be seen in his face. A bit of relief on the face of Ezekiel Perez Compact. He's still got the adrenaline going from protecting that third place from the Black Falcon Mercedes. Out into second place, a really, really good run. 2 days of fighting form for Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt. They both had their turns to attack and to defend. And then onto the top step of the podium will come Christopher Haas and Simon Gachet. Delighted that the Sansalot Racing team has taken the top position in this race. They worked hard for that, and they really produced a wonderful, wonderful performance. Victory by the best part of 10 seconds. So here they come, the drivers. Simon Gachet and the leaping figure of Christopher Haas. That means an awful lot to that duo.
Racing, we're going to listen to the French national anthem.
None.
Dat was het volkslied. De trophies worden uitgereikt door Erik Weijers.
So after the Marseillaise for Sansalot Racing, the French team, Eric Weijers, Chief Sporting Officer of Circuit Zandvoort, a man who's going to be very, very busy indeed as the World Championship comes back here for the first time since 1985. Many modifications to be made, but right now no modifications at all needed for what produced a fabulous race. Undulating circuit at Zandvoort. Weather often, Watty, plays a role in this race, and it had a little hint it might come and play, but it's just by and large stayed away. We stayed dry.
It did. The early phase of the race, there was a sort of localised rain shower, caught a few drivers slightly unexpectedly, but by the time they got back for the following lap, it had all gone and cleared, so it didn't come into play. It was a race of ifs and ands and buts, but clearly the big winner of all this was the 63 Lamborghini, that mega pit stop and getting itself elevated up onto the second place on the podium.
And for that, they get $10,000 euros presented by Stefan Rattel, the CEO and founder of the SRO Motorsports Group. 12,500 euros for the crew on the top step, and as much as anything, it's the trophies that mean everything to those drivers. They worked so hard this season, and it's been coming increasingly good for them. The bottles of champagne are coming out, getting ready to get sprayed. The crew preparing to run away just in case they get caught. But of course, it's the time for the champagne for these drivers. It's all over now, and all focus on the Spa 24 Hours coming up on the last weekend of July. And for all of them, they travel there up country with momentum in their favour.
Yes, and I think the good news coming out of this weekend is that there's only been one car that's had what I would call substantial damage. That was the 90 Mercedes. Everybody else has come through pretty much unscathed, maybe a little bit of bodywork. But they can now go back to their headquarters, prepare for Spa 24 Hours. Equipment's in place, the cars, all they need to be is stripped down, rebuilt, and everybody can now go to Spa-Francorchamps and look forward to an amazing 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, an unbelievable event.
Well, look at the championship points. Fourth place today, so Lucas Stoltz, Mauro Engel only just in front, 8.5 points clear, but Mapelli and Cordarelli bunching them up. But Bortolotti and Engelhardt up into fourth place. They are the duo that really made giant strides here at Zandvoort. 2 second places worth their weight in gold. So the sun is shining. We've had some fabulous racing over 2 days. It's been wet, it's been dry, but right now Zandvoort looking at its very, very best. Let's take a look at the start of the race, the highlights of what was a fabulous, fabulous event. And brilliant start from pole very bunched up behind, but Christopher Haas got it right. An attempt to go around the outside by Dries van Tor in the number 1 Audi. It didn't quite work. And in no time at all, Christopher Haas was driving like a demon. He pulled a dozen seconds clear. The best pit stop of the day, the Grasser Racing crew, number 63. As it was handed over from Christian Engelhardt to Mirko Bortolotti. Gained 2 positions in the pits. So coming out behind the number 1 Audi, now driven by Ezekiel Perez Compact. And in came the race leader. Job beautifully done by Christopher Haas. In stop got Simon Gachet, and he really just did not put a wheel wrong. The car coming into the background of the shot, just out of vision there, was the 63 Lamborghini. That wonderful pit stop put it up into second place. Championship leader Andrea Caldarelli could do nothing but push, and at the end still could not get past Van Sonnebril in the 88 Audi. But it was all about the Sansalot Racing Audi. Number 25, lights flashing, Christopher Haas celebrating up on the pit wall. Simon Gachet celebrating inside the cockpit of the Audi. Second place to the Grasser Racing Lamborghini crew. It's been a fabulous weekend of racing, and the next time out for the Blancpain Championships is at Spa 24 Hours.